Welcome to another hard-rocking Ringo Wranglers riding the rock and roll rails on which we're riding on. Uncle Gary got super juiced up on some Motley Crue and started doing again episode of Thedaysgrimm. My name is Brian Michael Day.
My name is Thomas Alfred Grimm III.
And I am Drew Head.
How are you guys doing today?
Doing all right.
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween. You just dressed like someone who's super lazy and is ready to shit their pants.
Tommy the Rugrat.
And then obviously I'm a wiener with no ketchup, so it might be a sauerkraut situation we got going on here.
Right.
Not really sure. Haven't quite figured that out yet.
Sure.
And then Drew, what are you?
So I was going for Mario. I didn't have any plain
Mario
red hats or anything.
Marbles.
So I'm Mario's white trash cousin, Marlboro.
Nice.
So,
and then joining us this week in the Thedaysgrimm studio is Alex and Chris from XANDERWOLF. How are you guys?
Good to be here.
Gentlemen.
We good.
So what are you guys for this happy Halloween? What did you dress up as, Alex?
I didn't dress up as anything.
You're just rocking that on the rag.
I just showed up the way that I normally look.
He's revealed his true identity.
And then Chris, what did you dress up as?
I don't know. I feel like the closest thing I could call myself kind of like Sid from Toy Story.
Okay, I
with
like
the
that.
skull on the shirt.
I like that.
I don't like the abusive personality he had, but just
that kid was
if I'm going to be
twisted.
anything. That's
Honestly, it's funny you say that because like you look like a grown Sid.
Do I really?
Yeah, I mean jacked. Obviously.
I don't know if I should take that as a
like,
compliment.
no, jacked. Like
maybe Sid that
but
got
Sid.
his life together a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't
And
know.
joined the Air Force and
Yeah.
got squared the fuck away.
Yep,
Yeah. So Sid, if he had a conscience,
got it together.
conscience, that word.
Moved away from the psychopathy.
Yeah. So I can already tell I'm going to drop this hood at some point. But how are you guys doing today?
Dude, I'm great. I'm feeling great.
Doing fine.
It's Sunday.
I can only,
You know?
I can only think about if someone's watching this and they don't know who Alex Morgan is, and they're like, "Who's the fucking guy in the fucking alien
an
mask?"
alien.
I like
Yeah.
that it has a smile too.
What do you mean an alien mask? Everybody says that all the time, and I don't understand what you're saying.
It's what he looks when all the makeup's off.
You guys just had an album drop.
Yeah, it's been out for a minute.
Well,
but,
yeah,
like,
especially by the time the episode.
But now we're like talking about it now as much as we can because that's what you're supposed to do whenever you put a lot of effort into, a personal project that gets released independently. Like if you don't promote it, then like who's going to know it exists?
right.
And you did it all in house, like all the mixing and stuff.
Well, they went to Black Cat here.
Yeah,
in-
Black Cat Recording, like here in
Okay.
Evansville, Steve Tyner.
Okay.
And so he's the man around here. There's, like nowadays it's kind of cool that there's people, like we have access to the technology to be able to, make music if we want to make music. You don't have to like contact a scenario where it's like, hey, I've got some songs, how much? And it's like, well, $30,000, you can come in here and cut a demo.
Yeah.
That's how it was like in the 80s, 90s,
That's how it was for a while.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Long time. And so like now, if you have Pro Tools, buy the preamps and the gear and the mics and know how to use them, and you get some musicians that can actually play, and you stick a mic on them and record it, you can mix it, do the thing. If you know anybody that can do the mastering, like, you do all the mixing and send it off to a mastering house, and you can kind of be independent now.
So is that essentially what you just walked me through? Is that the way that you guys did it? Essentially, like you did some mixing and mastering, and then just sent off like a semi-polished product to Black Cat
Yeah, no, like, well, okay, so like this process was kind of
for Alpha. I mean,
yeah, like this process for Alpha was kind of very unorthodox. Really, than the average band would do it. It really started off with my buddy Pete Rock up in Springfield, Illinois.
okay,
And he's a killer drummer. I used to play drums in metal bands.
okay,
And so developed a lot of relationships back in the day. And then so we all stay in touch. And then he's really good at recording stuff too, and like a killer drummer, killer guitar player actually. And then we started working on, I had these songs that I was working on and was just hanging out at his house. He's like, you want to track a few? So we spent a weekend like kind of drinking and, had the drum set mic'd up and then just decided to cut a song. And then we cut a song and we were, kind of surprised that it kind of sounded like a song.
Yeah.
And then got it kind of mixed up. And that was kind of the beginning of, well, let's cut another song. So I kind of tracked a few of the tunes like with him at first, and then it kind of got to a point where I just started writing all these other songs. And then I was on another podcast called the URM Academy. Like it's kind of ultimate recording machine.
Okay.
And so another past working relationship that I had in the music industry, one of my friends started like a podcast that's quite large platform.
Okay.
And so it's about audio production, but he had me on as like a guest talking about entrepreneurship and photography, because that's what I kind of do for a living. And so not kind of, but 100%.
That's 100% what you do for a living.
Yeah. And so like, after that interview, Steve reached out to me. He's like, dude, I heard you on that, podcast. If you ever want to work on music or something, let me know. And I was like, okay,
Tight.
So I started going over there, met him, started hanging out, started like getting some really good results. And then, so a lot of the drums on this record were tracked up in Springfield with Pete. And then I kind of finished everything with Steve.
Oh, okay.
And so the song Requiem, I tracked the drums for at Steve's. And then, so it's kind of a weird thing because I did a lot of this like myself. It's not like a bragging thing. It's just more of like, Dave Grohl did it. It was inspiring. So it was just kind of one of those things where I got to take this thing off because I'm going to pass out.
Losing oxygen. And everybody, this is what Alex Morgan looks like.
Yeah. At night only, not during the day. No, but like,
form.
Yeah. But so it was weird because it was one of those things because Chris and I were like in a metal band back in the day called Deliver Us from Evil. And so, that project dissolved. That's kind of where a lot of my relationships in the music industry developed because everybody in the band could really play really well. And then so we played a lot of shows, and we've got a full-length record and 2 EPs floating out there on Spotify. But this XANDERWOLF thing, it kind of turned into these songs that I'm writing, and then I didn't have a band, and so I just was like tracking all of it myself.
Yeah.
And then the vocals thing was the scariest part. You know what I mean? It's like, can I sing? Can I write lyrics? Like, can I sing?
Oh yeah.
Like, what is this? Like,
you do
what
a
the hell am
phenomenal
I
job
doing?
on Alpha, by the way.
Oh, thanks, bro.
Yeah, and your stage presence. Although I've not seen you live, I regrettably have to admit
It's all good.
I want to badly. I know you guys just did a show at
Front Porch Fest.
No, we didn't do Front Porch Fest.
You did one on top of Rooftop, right?
We did
Yeah,
Rooftop.
You
that
did
was fun.
Yeah.
So I saw and this is why I say you have a good stage presence, because I saw the bits and the reels, and I don't know who you got to shoot that for you, but they did a great job.
Mm-hmm.
And you just looked like a fucking rock star.
Right
like,
on.
You belong there.
I appreciate
you belong
that.
right there.
Yeah.
It's weird to see you and we've talked the first time you came on, we talked a little bit about because you're an exceptional drummer as well. We talked a little bit about that last time. I think more post-show, because I wasn't fully aware of who you were as a person then. But then when the show was over, we were sitting there talking, and you were like, "Yeah, pull this clip up."
Yeah.
And we pulled the clip up of you playing on.
It's probably the Kevin Talley.
It was a competition. No, it wasn't.
It was probably Kevin's.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
But you were just wailing on the skins. It was gnarly. But so you're just this overall you're just very, very talented. But it's weird to see you
Someone saying alien.
Exactly, dude.
So am I talented, or am I just have ADHD?
I don't know.
Yes.
We did talk about that. Is ADHD bad? I don't know, dude.
I don't think so.
I mean,
think we said
not
it's a
for me.
+1.
I think we're fine, dude.
Not
And
for
then
me.
you said before we started recording, everyone has to have Down syndrome in the future.
No, it's autism.
Oh, autism.
Autism is like something like it adapts more with society or whatever. Like with technology. Like the way technology is going.
Neurodivergent.
So I might be autistic too. I don't
Yeah,
know.
dude. Honestly,
I've been adapting.
I think we're all doing pretty damn good, though.
Well, we took the test.
Doing what we can.
But no, it's
I'm just whatever people call me behind my back.
It's weird to see you. What I was getting at is just weird to see you so good behind the skins, and then Alpha comes out, and I'm like, man, he can sing. and he can play guitar. And then I see these like you belong there. I don't know what it is. You're strange. You're a strange human.
Yeah,
I think that's...
I'm not going to argue with that. What's weird about it is like, you know, the fact that you would react like that and not just blow smoke up my ass. And, you know, I take that as like a honest compliment. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And because like the thing is like in my own head, you know, I've got some friends, like him included, like, but I've got some friends like in this world that are like world renowned guitar players. There's people in this town that are like incredible guitar players.
The guy from Cold Stairs lives here, doesn't he?
Oh yeah, like I mean that's that's an incredible band.
Chris
you know,
is
I do a lot
great.
of
He's phenomenal.
absolutely, yeah. I do a lot of work with them, like photo, video stuff too. And so, so we good?
What happened?
We just watching that. We just
Well,
watching
the
off them
screen
tech.
went black for
We
no
went into
reason.
dark
just-
mode.
Was
just
it just
watching-
like real quick?
Yeah, it said still recording.
It was probably black for like 15 seconds, but still recording.
We're just watching out for them tech diffs.
All right, thank you. I
Tech
appreciate you.
diff.
back
But
to
so
what we
like
were
yeah,
saying,
Cold
sorry.
Stairs. Yeah, they're around here.
Phenomenal
They've been
group, yeah.
touring like Europe. Like I mean, you know,
We
they've
can't
been-
get a hold of them. I promise you.
Well, I guarantee it. Yeah. Well, they're busy boys.
They've got
you know?
a barrier.
They're everywhere, dude.
They're busy boys.
They're always
Yeah.
working.
It's so wild
And
that
they've been in the game for
A long time.
12, 15 years,
Th-
probably, maybe
Yeah.
something like that. You know,
Well over a decade.
Yeah.
Are they older than you guys? Are they older than you?
I mean, a smidge,
Not
a
all.
smidge.
but not really. I mean, you know, what they have in age, they have in like, you know, accomplishments and tenure.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I
Yeah.
mean, they're you know they're killing it.
I need them to come back to Evansville badly.
They just played Boca a couple of weeks ago. Yeah.
They come to
So-
visit.
Dude, I think Alice Cooper played last night, and like I heard they were he was playing. I heard the band was playing, and then just kind of like saw this thing, and they're like, "We're in Evansville tonight," and I was like, "Shit!" Like I'm doing something else, and that's because you know promotion's crazy. Like it's
Right.
kind of a crazy deal. There's so much stuff going on, and it's hard to get people to commit because there's so much stuff going on. You know what I'm saying?
It's
Right.
it's like the exact opposite for me. I like to have as little going on as possible. Like I like to just be with my dog.
Sure, no,
You know what
I
I
don't
mean?
blame you.
Blame you.
No, I'm the same way. I
My
really
friends
see
are
that
like,
hard.
"Hey man, sick show at Boca. Why don't you come on down?" I'm like, but I got to give my dog some treats in a little
Right.
bit, so I'm good.
Well, so Cold Stairs. There's like Bosco France here in town. Like I mean, there are friends like
There's phenomenal musicians
like-
in this, or artists in general.
like Monty, Theo, Dakar, like all kill it, like
Right.
100%. Like
Yeah.
you know, and there's a million other ones. Like I mean, I'd have to go down the list. Somebody's going to get mad at me because I'm even bringing up names, and I'm not bringing their names up. But they know that I hope they know that I respect them because like when it comes down to me playing guitar, I'm lucky to have a band behind me.
I mean,
You
do
know what I'm
you
saying?
do a great job though.
Well, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
yeah.
I love Alpha Man, and we're gonna dive more into that here momentarily. But Alex, you're a veteran. You've been on the show before.
Yes, I'm a total veteran. Not like he is, but
We got
yeah, context counts, I guess.
Chris. You're about to get your cherry popped,
Oh, here
and
we go.
we do this little treat. Yeah, we do this little treat every week called the Death of the Week, and essentially, it's a way that some poor bastard died in a unique fashion. And this is kind of hard. It's easier once it gets going. So, Drew, would you go ahead and help me ruin some people's day?
sounds like Chris's voice.
This week's Death of the Week brought to you by Thedaysgrimm.com. Go get a t-shirt, buy some merch. It's the easiest way to keep our lights on here in the podcast. That being said, this week's Death of the Week. Scroll all the way to the top real quick. Title of this one is this the scariest story in Halloween history? Now let's go on back down to where you just were. And all right, something for the kids. For several years, parents and school officials of the little farming community in Utica, Kansas, population 300, have worried that youngsters might be injured in boisterous yearly initiation of high school freshmen by the senior class. So Miss Betty Stevens, English teacher and sponsor of this year's senior class, decided to try something different. Instead of seeing her charges mill around all evening at a high at a rough house gymnasium party. She would get the seniors to lead the freshmen on a pre-Halloween trip through a haunted house. Principal, has a long name, age 60, got into the spirit of the thing, thought the kids might get a kick out of finding him hanging in a dark room. One day last week, Mrs. Stevens and her seniors took over an abandoned farmhouse 2 miles outside town. Scattered paper mache. I'm just now learning how to read.
That's
by
a
the
weird way to spell it.
Yeah, paper mache skulls, steer bones, toy rattlesnakes, and other spooky bits and pieces in strategic places. Just before the party, principal daubed himself with black grease paint, spattered catsup. What's with the spelling?
I know.
Catsup on his face and
Catsup with a C.
Yeah, and clothes, and suspended himself, a rope strung beneath his arms from the kitchen ceiling. His feet touched a floor littered with broken bones, burlap sacks, fire chains.
Dude, the person that wrote this is fired.
Yeah, dude, this guy doesn't have a job anymore. One by one, the seniors led the freshmen through the dark house amid weird groans and rattling chains. When they came to the kitchen, they briefly flashed a light on the hideous but familiar form that hung limply and moaned softly. All the freshmen agreed that the hanging man was the scariest spook of all. Midway in the fun, Mrs. Stevens slipped into the kitchen with her camera to get a picture. She called. There was no answer. She turned on her flashlight. Somehow, as he had moved his feet on the littered floor, Principal had slipped. The noose had worked up from his armpits to his neck, and he was dead from wait for it, lation. Woof. Holy fuck.
So the rope worked its way up from his armpits to around his neck.
I don't know if he slipped, like if he
Sounds like he
slipped
wanted
on
to go.
something, but yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Sounds like he had a loan shark after him.
Sounds like he got bullied by the senior
He was like,
class.
"This is
Sounds
my
like
chance, I'm taking it."
one of his students really didn't like him.
This is a good out for me.
Dude, the grammar in that
Dude, cats
was
up.
terrible.
Dude,
Cats
we're gonna
up.
CATSUP.
Maybe
cats
run it through
up.
It was
any
missing-
word
Yo,
program.
Yo, it was missing
Also,
commas.
is that maybe that is how you spell paper mache? I'm not.
Well, yeah, it's paper mache, but like, I mean,
I just never saw
Papier mâché.
papier.
I'm sure it's like French or
Papier
something. You know what I
mache.
mean? But
Fucking
like,
French people.
there's a lot of French people are wonderful.
No, I know.
But like,
You have experience, yeah. No, you should know. I have no idea.
I would just like to point out this principal is fucking insane. Why would he do that?
It's the
Hang himself in front of-
1960s.
Well, when
that
did
was the
this-
1960s.
I think it's from
Oh.
like 1957, right?
Okay,
Yeah,
It didn't-
7.
that's
I-
back when ropes like slipped from your armpits
Wow.
to around your neck.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Dude,
The
what?
clothes were just coming around.
Yeah, dude.
Oh my god.
He was. Oh my god, that's so bad, dude.
You might have to bleep that name. but-
Yeah, dude. Honestly, what's that one guy that had the child pedophile ring? Epstein. Yeah, dude.
I think there's several of those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is before Epstein, I guess. I don't know, man. That's dicey for me. But it begs the question: do you think he hung himself, or do you think it was you think somebody hung him for him?
I think it's a trick rope, dude. If it can go from the armpits to the neck, like that's kind of a.
I don't know if
Like-
he
it's like
slipped
magic.
and then like
that
it
rope was
caught on
possessed.
his.
So if it slipped over your arms, is it going to wrap around your neck, dude?
Yeah, no.
Also, he is 60 years old. How
I
agile
think
are you
somebody-
at 60?
I think somebody slipped in there and.
maybe he was trying to get out real quick, and then that's when the slip happened, and he messed
Oh,
up.
that's not a bad idea
Yeah.
either, because obviously your arms are in the way, so that noose is not going to go up over your arms. But like, yeah, that's not a bad point, Chris. Like maybe the whole event was over because
he slipped his arms
and
out.
he's
and
trying to slip out of the noose, and as he's fashioning it off, he slips and falls, and then when he falls, it just
That's brutal.
clean.
I think he did it on purpose, dude.
yeah. Honestly,
I
he's
mean, how do you accidentally slip from your
Yeah.
armpits to your neck?
dude. If your name is,
I think it's
you're a quitter. Sorry, that's a quitter's
There's-
name, dude.
dude,
I don't know
there's
what
a
to tell
town-
you.
there's a town
Yeah,
in
too many
Indiana.
names.
Yeah,
too many problems.
He's
Oh,
compensating.
I'm over it.
Yeah,
There's a town in Indiana called Hobart.
really.
Yeah, dude.
Fun
You
fact.
should go.
Okay.
Check it out.
What's in Hobart?
People I've met before. There's one dude that I love that's from Hobart,
Sick. Where's it even at?
north, close to Gary.
Oh God.
Gary,
It's way
Indiana.
up there.
I've got PTSD from Chi-Town still. Yeah.
Oh, really?
What happened?
I saw a homeless guy masturbating on a train.
That's it.
Oh, that's every
That's
day,
a
dude.
Dude,
normal
that fucked me
Chicago.
up.
Red line or brown
activities.
line?
I think it was the blue train
Surprised me.
because we were leaving
mean-
Wrigley. I think the blue train is the one that you have to hop on to Wrigley to get near the airport.
How do you know he's homeless?
Yeah, he could have just been some guy jerking it on the L.
Right.
Dude, all I'm saying is his attire, his attaché, was not primo.
He wasn't dressed like this? Or was he dressed more like that?
He had
Was he
he
dressed more like Thomas?
pretty close, yeah,
Yeah.
wildly close. Maybe
yeah.
a duster with
He probably
some-
had socks on.
Out of everybody in this room, who do you think is more likely to get caught?
doing it on a train.
Oh, geez.
Doing it on a
This
train?
Is this the game we're playing?
It's when you like start pointing fingers, and then whenever the finger stops, and then it could it be me? I don't think so.
Dude, I don't
I'm
know.
just kidding.
I think it's true. I'm not kidding.
I'm just kidding.
No,
But
all-
if- like, is it one of those trains where you rent rooms? You know what I mean? Like they
no,
got
no,
those
no.
trains
It's
that
like,
go
it's like a
across
subway
country?
train above
No,
ground.
yeah.
How's my voice sound through this real face compared to my
It's-
fake face? Is it work?
Honestly, it's not bad.
Word.
So, Chris,
Alright.
what was it like when Alex approached you about joining XANDERWOLF?
Yeah, how did that even happen?
Well, the fact that we'd already played in a band together and kind of like went through all the steps, because you never know. Somebody calls you up like, hey, want to
You
try
wanna
to
be in this
be in a band? You
Yeah.
know, it's kind of like, it's hit or miss unless you know like their previous history, you've seen them play. But the fact that what makes a band is that people can actually get in a room and cooperate and make something happen. And we've already proved that. So, you know, the fact that we had like that background established already, and I knew after the metal band dissolved, we kind of like took a little hiatus on like pursuing music making. And then he starts coming around saying he's got ideas for songs and everything, want to play guitar. And I don't know, I think one of my earliest memories was jamming the intro riff to Evil Creatures with you in that hotel in Cleveland when we went to the Chimera Christmas show together. And like that's literally my earliest memory. I think that was like right around the cusp of like 2016 to 17.
Something like that.
It's like
Yeah.
right at the end of the year.
It's a long time ago.
But yeah, it's been a long time. So we've been like friends for a long time. Like lived together for a couple years. Done the whole thing. So
And you're the guitarist in XANDERWOLF, right?
yeah, I guess lead guitar. But like on this album, I've got 4 solos tracked and everything. But he pretty like he did the whole thing.
Right.
And then it's like, hey, I got this part. I'd like you to do something over that. And then I just kind of like listen, hear, and come up with something. Like,
But at the same time, like I call him up and be like, "Hey, what are you doing like Wednesday?" And he's like, "I'm busy." And I'd be like, "How about Thursday?" And he'd be like, "I'm good. What?" And I'd be like, "Just come over to my house, bring your guitar." And he'd be like, "Okay." And then I'd have Logic queued up in my back room, and I'd have like the rough in demo of the song.
yeah.
And then I just like go, "All right, this is your section. Tune up, plug in."
Here's
Go.
a beer.
Yeah. We'd
You know what I
workshop
mean?
it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's just one of my things. Like,
And I love doing that because like I just wanted to see what he had off the cuff, like not hearing it quite yet, you know, and then have him like kind of hash it, go over and over and over, and then and then eventually like you hear him kind of go from feeling it out. He knows what the key is, and then he gets to a point where like we'll record that and then make like another track and then record that and then make another track and then eventually, usually pretty quick, he'll hit something and I'm like, all right, we're sticking with that part. Now play off that. And then by the end of the night, like we've kind of ground out like the idea.
Was there like a producer that gave like you that inspiration of like?
I've been lucky enough to work with some producers in the past that like kind of really showed me like, oh, like my songwriting isn't that great, but it really helped me like figure out back in the day, kind of helped me figure out like how to cut the fat and like kind of get to the point. You know what I'm saying? Like of some of the songs, because sometimes you'll write songs and they'll just be like a riff soup. And then
like it just lingers on too long before you get to a bridge or a solo or something.
Like all the riffs are cool, but it's kind of like, what is this, or where's this gonna go? You know?
Yeah, that happened a lot. Like whenever we were working with Mark, like we'd have these ideas of the practice room and then cut demos for the Delivers from Evil stuff. And like he'd send feedback, be like, "This is way too long. You gotta cut it." And so it was kind of like, well, we really liked it, but it's just one of those things of like, don't get too attached to your initial ideas. That's the idea. Like distill it, like cut the fat, like get straight to the point. What matters most.
Now, if you're playing on stage and you do like a solo time, like, do you think you ever throw in that little extra fat just to keep the?
Yeah, you know, things get like as things go, and you play the same song a million times. There are times where you get the opportunity to be like, let's just extend this live, or like, you know, like the song's over and let's have this drawn out outro for it. And those things just kind of naturally happen. Just as you think it's kind of funny when you first do it, but then you kind of like, okay, I like that. Let's just always do that. So it's a little bit, you're going to get something a little bit different, like in the show, than you're going to get on the record, which I'm a huge fan of.
Right.
You know, as long as the song is not completely different. But I wanted to do that with Chris because I wanted to see what he came up with on the fly, because I kind of wanted this whole record to not be this super crazy thought out just thing. Like I wanted it to be kind of like, you know, how am I feeling right now when I'm writing this song? And then, you know, intro, verse, pre-chorus, chorus, whatever, bridge, out. Like, you know, and if it sounds good and feels good and it's not like 7 minutes long, you know, keep it, you know, within this kind of parameter. Set a couple of rules for myself to, like, you know, like get to the point, dude, you know? And then find these sections. And I liked throwing him into that because I wanted to see what he had come out of him without thinking too much about it.
So
know?
Almost like a raw instinctual
kind of,
like response to like, this is how I was feeling when I wrote this song. Now you're hearing it, just go with it.
Yeah, just like in the moment, like what's going to come out of you in an hour. You know what I mean? And then like take that demo and send him home with it so he could kind of like, that was the initial like idea, and then he go home, work that, and then come back in a relatively short amount of time, and then come back and cut it.
So kind of a question for both of you.
Yeah.
Alex, you're so busy. So like when you get the idea for either like a lyric pops in your head or like a beat or something like that,
right?
Like are you using like your phone and writing it down in notes and voice memos, or are you like a pad and paper eventually? Or
yeah, so like if you ask any musician, I would assume it's similar, but the only reason I know that is because some of my musician friends we compare our like voice memos. So we sound like insane people. You know what I'm saying? So
bop, bop, you're like
yeah,
scatting
totally.
to each other.
100%, no, 100%. Like, I mean, you know, so like on my drives where it's like, I've got to be at this job 5 hours away. That's when you're just like loopy, which is like the best state of mind ever to like do anything. Like being exhausted after, you know, doing your normal life stuff. And then I'm lucky that my wife, like she goes to bed early because she has like
She's got a real job.
And she's extremely responsible, and she goes to bed like at 10 o'clock, maybe 11 if it's getting wild, you know.
Yeah.
But she's got to be up early and do the thing, and so I'm lucky that she's like, "Love you, good night." And I'm like, "Love you, good night." And then I'm up and kind of editing, and then I've always kind of like, because I do the photography thing, so I'm always editing and trying to stay up on my deadlines. But I've always got kind of like a guitar next to me, or on my lap, or like in the other room, or like it's always never in the case. It's always like grabbable.
That's how it is with
Floating
Brian.
around.
I was like showing him, we were doing stuff on like editing or whatever, and then like I'm talking to him, and next thing I know, he's like playing the guitar.
Mm-hmm.
Skip-a-doo-bop.
ADD, dude.
It's a great little toy to just kind of get your feelings out.
Well, yeah, and then like also like you said, like the ADD stuff. I just like I was mindlessly watching him edit something on Discord, and I was just like, it was laying right there, and I I had to be doing
I'm
something.
always doing that.
I had to do something with my hands instead of just like mindlessly watching.
So when you send Alex stuff, do you grab a guitar and send it back? Like if it's just like an idea in your head, do you like play it to him and then like send it to him, or are you using like a voice memo and trying to do it? With
I do both. Like I'll do like writing memos for like ideas, or like if I have if I'm sitting around like playing on something, usually it's around like a progression, like building like a harmonic kind of like structure. And I will just kind of like record it for myself for like future reference. All the Slayer riffs. Yeah. That's all I'm doing is copying off of Slayer.
I'm drinking blood out of this.
Just kidding. But no, like that's one of my favorite ways to just like capture ideas is either through notes or like a voice memo.
Right.
And just to get the idea that's like floating in your head and conceptualizing it somehow, just so you have like reference, and then you can go back and like pull it up and then try to, refine it from there.
Right.
I have a question about influences though, and we're gonna get.
I was gonna say XANDERWOLF is a punk-esque band, punk-esque, right? Esque.
Yeah, it's been influenced by like that. That's kind of like,
and that was like the
first
music you guys grew up on, right? You were in the skateboard scene, kind of. We're not sure what Chris did back in his high school days yet. Maybe he'll come in.
I was in the skating scene. I was like, I had a different life. I was like really into guitar in high school and everything, and like but my parents were like my dad especially was just making sure I was very academically focused, and like I was very centered around like church life and everything too. And that was kind of like my life growing up. Post high school, completely different.
Insert
Slayer. So like, I mean,
so naturally you went to Slayer.
It was just one of those things. That's where my roots came, and then there was like a drastic turn after that. I kind of like developed I had the rebellious streak, which is it's a played out thing where like kids grow up super religious and then they rebel.
Oh yeah.
Right. And it's it's a standard story around here too. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And like, you look at like what parents do, and like you had a kid for the first time, and it's like all of a sudden like exactly like what to do with that kid because like it's like first try, like let's see what happens. I mean,
it's wild. It's wild what a little community of people get together and think what's right and what's wrong, and here's what we're gonna do. But I don't know, man.
And I like dancing around the fringe of all that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I don't know what's right and wrong, but I like playing around with both of it.
Let's just see what we can get away with.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Who doesn't? You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Like, I mean, like, I think everybody that, good or bad, like, whatever people want to claim to be, like, they kind of have, they know what's going on inside their brains.
Did you guys hear about Matthew McConaughey's book, Green Lights?
Yeah.
I've heard him talk about it a little bit.
Read it at all? No?
I haven't read it.
There's a really interesting part about his dad and how he was raised, and it was very, very opposite of like how you were raised. It was just funny, like the dynamic, how I said what you can get away with. Just funny because that's exactly how his dad was. He was like, be a man, see what you can get away with, like more like you, more like just kind of like, let's play with it. Yeah. And it's an interesting way to, and obviously it made Matthew McConaughey. So
do you read any books from like music producers or anything like that?
I don't know. I mean, I've read a lot of books when I was like younger. I don't know if I read a lot of books from music producers. I've just been lucky to be kind of exposed to a lot of people that do it for real, like do music, make music, and produce music.
Like interim.
So you can just kind of rub shoulders, gain knowledge, and
and as a photographer, I'm lucky. I'm a professional observer. Like that's really what I am. Like, I mean, my job is to, if I'm allowed to be there, like access is the most valuable thing for a photographer, and so like if I'm allowed to be there, it's best for me to like kind of sit back and watch how people do the thing and like, document or, just kind of, I guess, document like what they're doing in a way that shows them in the best light possible, I think.
Yeah.
Because I'm not out to get anybody. I'm actually kind of out. My main goal is to build people up. That's what my job
to make them
is.
Their shining moment.
Help them somehow. Like, I'm not saying that like what I do is like the main factor and like why they are successful. But it's like if I'm going to be allowed to be around it, I want to be able to contribute to that, which puts me in a position to kind of be a fly on the wall a lot and like hear good things, hear bad things, and keep most of it to myself and absorb it and like, make sure that I protect the people that allow me to be around. Does that make sense?
Right.
But I've definitely learned that was my school outside of school. I graduated from
It's the
college. What's that?
So it's like street smart.
Word. Yeah, 100%. Like, because it's like, I think that's kind of why I'm good at my job, because I didn't really like grow up in a way that like, I had expectations, but like, where I lived I was a new kid a lot, and my mom moved me around a lot when I was young, and you got to figure out how to adapt. And like, you can't have these like crazy rigid belief systems when you're always kind of a loner.
It's not very adaptive.
No, right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so like, I never really had like a group that I was affiliated with. I mean, I went to church because I was dropped off there. Didn't really have a problem with it, like kind of observed that, took what that was, so I feel like I've got kind of a healthy approach to spiritualism kind of with my because I hung out with kids that went to different churches than mine, and rock and roll churches where I'm like, I was raised Catholic, so it's all like
Yeah, you go to the non-denominationals.
yeah, so I'm like at church when I was a kid, I'm just kind of like stay awake.
Catholic churches are 1,000 times more boring than like
Those-
all the churches my friends grew up going to. They had like a band that they had catchy songs and shit.
Yeah.
Not me,
But
not
man,
Catholic church.
some of those hymns, dude, they got, as a
Old
musician and a music person, there are some hymns that are like pretty sick. Like, as far as like
slap.
the melodies
They
and like
slap,
some of the
yes.
stuff.
Still collecting royalties.
But I
off
remember
those.
going,
100%.
I remember, still collecting.
Yeah, the
royalties.
Vatican.
I think it's fair
Straight
use
to the
for-
Pope's pocket.
Yeah.
dude.
And so like, I remember going to my friend, my late great friend, he's passed at this point, but like, my buddy TK, skateboarded together all the time. He's like, "You want to go to church with me?" And I'm like, "All right." Like, I'm staying at your house, and like, I can't really drive yet, and you're my ride, so I'll go.
I guess.
And it was the first time I really saw like a drum set and like people like screaming and like passing out in the aisle and like just going wild. You know what I mean? I'm in there like,
Wow.
whoa, like these people are crazy. But it wasn't like a judgmental, like, wow,
Right.
these people are crazy. It'd be like a super Christian person going to a Slayer show. Really.
Oh, yeah.
They'd be like, what is happening? You know? So I was just kind of like, whoa, like
Was that
they are rocking out.
Was that the snake dancing people? The people that didn't
There wasn't any snakes, but
What do you call them?
Pentecostal.
Pentecostals.
Oh,
you know, probably ish.
Yeah,
You know,
those people, the holy rollers, dude. When they start like going up and down the aisles
throw
and like
down,
speaking
dude.
in tongues, and
It's
they're just
wild.
like waving their hands around. And
It's a scene, man.
you ever see like the reels on Instagram where they like
Put, like, death
scenes-
metal
Yeah,
music
dude,
to
it's
it.
so great.
It's my favorite.
The guy's just like shaking.
I absolutely love it.
When the riff hits like at the perfect time, it's like, oh,
Dude, those are
the
my
best
favorite
videos.
reels.
Yeah.
Speaking of influences, though,
Speaking of Jesus,
speaking of Jesus and influences, have you guys thought about premarital sex? No, I'm joking. What I want to know is, so we were talking about trimming the fat, right?
I've experienced it.
Premarital sex or trimming the fat?
Both.
Well,
Okay.
you gotta
But
do what you can.
Going
Sorry, I
back to
admitted
that,
that.
Do
going
what you
back
can.
to that in church rebellion.
Sorry,
phase,
yeah.
you know?
But speaking of trimming the fat, how you kind of like hurry up, get to the point, and hit this mark and hit it hard, and make it beautiful. What say you to some of the
I don't know if
more
it's beautiful.
well? What
Trying.
say you to more, or you're trying to make it beautiful? But what say you to like the more iconic songs that are Master of Puppets, Bohemian
hell yeah.
Rhapsody, like the ones that are almost like orchestral and like take you through it's like a short film in music
I know.
form. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
What say you to that? And then how does that work versus, let's trim the fat? Is it just, did they make those songs because they could, because they were at where they were at in their
Yes.
careers? Or,
Yes.
I think so. They probably were guided by a producer and like, yes, like, well, somebody had to have the
Somebody
idea.
had those ideas.
Somebody probably had to fight for that idea, but I think pieces of music like that are totally beautiful. Where it's like they stand out, they stand the test of time. Maybe like, and like songs like Bohemian Rhapsody, like nobody was thinking about that as being like a radio or a single or anything.
Well,
like
have you
that.
seen that movie?
And
Like,
it didn't even get popular until like after Freddie Mercury. It like had a resurgence after Freddie Mercury passed.
Once he
right?
passed. Yeah.
So it's just one of those things like where initially people didn't like appreciate it very much.
They were
But
like, what's this
some-
9-minute
somehow
long
that-
madness?
There's other songs like that too, man.
and then Wayne's World like blew it way
Yeah.
up.
Yeah. Where it's just like, oh, that was the first time I ever heard that song. Actually,
hell yeah,
was
me too.
watching
Probably.
Wayne's World with that scene where
Maybe.
they're all headbanging in the pacer.
Yeah.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
That's where I first heard it, and I'm like, what is going on? Like all these voices.
If
And
you're gonna
just, like, going
spew,
into music.
spew into this.
He gets the little cup out.
Yeah,
Dude, you know
that's
the
crazy.
you know
Well-
the producer wanted to take the gong off out of the outro. The very, very end when they hit the bong.
Really?
They wanted to-
Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yeah, they wanted to take the gong out.
Well, have you heard have you seen that movie, Bohemian Rhapsody?
Parts, yeah.
Like, I mean,
Yeah.
Rami
Rami Malek, Yui
Rami.
Grad.
Sorry, I have a hard time.
Yeah.
I got a nephew that has a similar name, but
Yeah,
I
Rami.
mess it up all the time. Yeah, so U of E, like local bro. So they kind of obviously it's dramatized for audience. But it's fascinating though, because back in the day there's expectations from these labels. If you want to be famous, you want to make money, there's a gatekeeping scenario that says like you have to do it like this, you know? And like I would say that song was Freddie Mercury's opus, which would put him in a position to be able to do exactly what he, the ultimate, it was his ultimate thing that he was capable of. Like, so he wanted an opera, like he wanted a song that like represented opera, like rock and roll opera. And so like they tracked it. The band thought that he was insane. Like he overdubbed like 1 million,
Samples esque.
yeah, like what are the crazy layered
Ad-libs?
words? Yeah, like, well, it's just the falsettos and the
God, those falsettos. are
just
fucking
Oh, those
gnarly.
parts in the scene where they're like tracking and he's like
The
grabbing his
drummer-
balls,
the
like,
drummer
to be able
had
to
like
hit
the highest. Yeah, the drummer had like the highest range, kind of like vocally.
I didn't know that.
And then he just do it again, do it again, do it again, do it again, do it again. So they stack like 22 tracks like on top of each other to make that sound like that. You know?
Crazy.
And so like then he did it. Freddie Mercury's stoked on it. Pitch it to the label. The label's like, this is stupid. Like
Get the
it's
fuck
like
outta
7
here.
minutes long.
yeah.
Like who's doing 7 minutes? Bohemian Rhapsody, that's a stupid name. We're gonna have you call it like hanging out with your friends or like something
Yeah.
stupid. And then he was just like, well, we either call it this or we're walking. And he was like, you're not going to call it this. And then they walked and he said like, you'll always be remembered the guy that lost Queen. And, they had to fight for that shit. And can you imagine just being like, okay, like we won't put that out.
Right.
Okay.
I wonder who that producer was.
It's Mike Myers, dude, from Wayne's World
That's right.
Huh?
Yeah.
in the movie.
Oh,
Yeah. I don't know who that producer was, but nobody's going to remember him compared
yeah.
to, I'm sure he's super famous. I know that he's super famous and represented a lot of bands, but like you remember Freddie Mercury.
whoever the final guy was, that I thought they said that, and you could Google me to see if I'm wrong, but I thought they said they thought the gong was like a appropriation or something. They were like, take it out.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know anything
Yeah,
about the gong.
yeah. So it almost the gong almost did not make the final cut.
Dude, my main goal in life is to have a gong get hit every
Dude,
time I walk
like
into a room.
rock band with a gong, Led Zeppelin, Van
Yeah.
Halen.
Oh,
they
dude,
all had gongs.
Rush?
Yeah,
Dude,
Well,
okay.
It's so like on Discord now they have it to where like say like we were to do the podcast on there or whatever, and you can set it up anytime you join a chat, it plays a sound. So yeah, you could
I'm all
do that.
about it. I love gongs.
the
But are there other bands that you guys like look up to and like gain little bits of like? I mean, over the years, you guys both started out like church-esque was like
Let's do
music, and then
independent.
Well, I
Me
wasn't
too.
in like church. Like, I mean, I went to church, but
you
like,
didn't play like
you know,
in the band at church or anything.
I actually
like
played trumpet and piano in church. My mom would be like, volunteer
Sick.
my son, like because I could like sight read piano, which I can't do anymore. But like, I was like trumpet, like for real, like in a Catholic church, like the most quiet place ever. Like, because a trumpet ain't no joke, dude. Like,
Right.
it's a blasting in your face instrument. So I play with like a mute or whatever. But like, I don't know. It was, I was asked to be like an altar boy at one point, and I was like, I don't want to do that. And they're like, why? And I was like, well, You know,
I've heard some things.
And
I don't wanna get touched.
it's not because
Word
I
on
heard,
the street is.
it ain't because I heard things. I felt personally when I was a kid that I was donating enough of my time to this that like I didn't want to do an extra thing because I had other things going on. And
It'd be another chore on your list.
back to the ADD, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like,
What
for
are we
me
talking about?
Well, back
I'm joking. That was ADD.
Right, yeah. So back to the ADD thing, though. You sitting there just wanting to play guitar while you're hanging out. Well, you know, I just saw those kids go up there and just have to sit there like still like the whole
It
time.
was excruciating.
And that was like the nightmare of my life to just go
Nails
sit
in
up there in front of
yeah.
a bunch of people and just sit there and wait. And if anybody knew me as a kid, that was the most impossible thing in the world to get me to do.
I think that's like for children in general, like that's the most unnatural thing for them to do. Is like everybody sit and be quiet.
Yeah.
It's like how long
It's
does
like
that
a
is that
Vietnamese
successful?
POW camp.
Right, yeah.
You can't do that to a child, dude. You just
get
hit him
rattled with a
sticks.
I was like the opposite of that. There's no controlling me like with that. And it wasn't like rebellious. It was just kind of like, you know, you have me sit there for 2 minutes quiet and then all of a sudden it's like,
Right.
you know what I'm saying? And then I'm talking to everybody and saying something that makes the whole class laugh. And then the teacher's like, you know, they loved me, but they drove him and I drove them crazy, but they didn't like hate me. But at the same time, it was like, is performing. I couldn't help it, you know? And so like to give me something to do, like play piano or play trumpet at church, like I'll do that because I can. And
so when you were growing up and you
something to do.
watched some of these bigger artists perform on TV, were you like reenacting some of their scenes?
well, what was killer, not really, but like what was killer is my mom, you know, I was raised by a single mom and like, she never kept me from listening to music. So like, I remember being a little kid and being like, welcome to the jungle. Like you're gonna die. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and they had like, I love skulls and like all that stuff. And so like Appetite for Destruction came out. I loved it when it was coming out on the radio. And like for Easter, like in my Easter basket, my mom gave me like Appetite for Destruction and a cassette tape. And it was like,
dude, those are the days.
and I didn't realize how cool that was at the
Oh,
time. Like, I mean, I thought it was really cool, but then like I started meeting friends where like I go to their house or go to like the fair and they have Mortal Kombat and I'd be like, and I killed Mortal Kombat back in the day. So, like, I mean, that was my shit. You know?
I was so bad at it.
And I had
dude.
one of my friends' moms be like, what? Like, you can't play that, you know? And I was like, what? Like, fatality. You know what I'm saying?
Finish him.
And right. And like, I couldn't believe that like there was somebody telling me like I can't play Mortal Kombat or like I can't listen to this music. And I wasn't listening to like Lil' Kim or like the crazy, like Too Short, like where it's just like the craziest shit ever. But like, you know, Offspring, you know, there's a band called Bad Religion back in the day that I loved.
Bad Religion.
You know?
Yeah,
and,
Bad Religion.
and their
snacks.
shirt like had a crucifix, like just not with Jesus on it, but like a crucifix, like a cross with like a no sign. And there's, you know, it said Bad Religion. And then people are like, which really they're kind of talking about like the government, you know what I mean? And so it's like real political music. And then I remember wearing that to school. And they're like, you got to turn that out and inside out. And it was a white shirt. So it was killer because I could like flip it inside out, but you could still see it.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? And it brought attention to me. And I just thought that was like, and No Effects. And so like No Effects, Pennywise, Green Day, like early Green Day.
Yeah.
Like the Reverend Horton Heat, like all these kind of like punk rock edgy bands. And then like metal started like kind of really kicking, you know, because I was into like, you know, he's got like an 80s guitar influence, you know what I mean? So, and I'll let him speak to that. But like, it's interesting that we've got this kind of, with this project, it's like me as a little kid, all the shit that I liked as a little kid. And I just decided to start there, like punk rock influences and like, what am I going to say? You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot like Evil Creatures. Like, I don't really like telling people like what my songs are about, but like, for example, Evil Creatures is like really kind of about like the internet and like the algorithms telling you to buy shit and directing you into like controlling your brain and believing, you know, picking a side and being angry and making your mind shrivel up to nothing and not being able to think for yourself. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, so there's little, I guess, inner meanings of
it's like
some of these
funnels on
songs.
the internet. They either funnel you into like
Exactly.
they got like 2 or 3
They
groups.
do.
And they're just like bloop, bloop,
No
bloop.
shit. That's exact.
And just seeing people get so pissed off about like a soundbite, and it's like, you're not willing to listen to the 3 hours of where the context was,
where it came from.
Or check your source, and it's not the Joe Rogan
And I would
AI
just-
experience.
The Facebook news ads are my favorite, dude. My mom, God bless her heart. I love you. I forgot what I love you, Mom. But she'll see something pop up on Facebook, and it's like Donald Trump killed a family of 5 geese, and now he took a shit on their corpses or something. And my mom would be like, "Oh my god!" And share it and post. And I'm like, "Do you really think Donald Trump killed a family of 5 geese
and then
shit on their body? Just take a second, drink that in, and did you even click?
Dude, he's got people to do that for him.
But that blows
It's
my.
just a complete lack of media literacy.
Dude,
Like,
it
they don't-
Well, I went to school for
That's-
journalism,
that's
so
what-
I kind of like pay attention to all this stuff and like just kind of like see what I'm seeing and just be like, this is like opinionated, subjective.
There's a lot of little traps out there.
No,
It's not
shit.
real. It's not real. Like it's just an opinion. And so like, it was, I guess this record just kind of happened during all that. And there's some other shit that's like personal.
Yeah,
when it
because you
comes
guys
down.
did this during COVID.
It was like your
I
personal
started-
project. You were talking about it last time we had you on the show that you were working on this, like, you were putting your all into like this personal album and everything, and then like I guess you adapted. You needed a band, and then like now I'm doing cutting an album finally, and
well, and also the band. So in general, like I mean, there's more than just me and Chris. So there's like
Well, that was a process too.
Yeah.
Of just like getting. It's like, okay, well, we had a couple guitars to like throw off of each other, but it's like, well,
yeah, can
Let's
you
get in the
play
room with the
drums and
drummer.
guitar at the same time and sing? Probably not.
maybe partly.
singing and playing guitar at the same time was like a whole thing that I had.
That's
to
so
get
hard
to
to do.
I can't do it.
So hard to do. And then anyone can like say words. If you're a good guitarist, anyone can say words while they're playing and hold a conversation. But it's knowing where you're at, like you said, in octave and in key and in the song, and don't forget the words, and then remembering the word, and then now you have to make your voice like match this key, and it's like you're
It's a
doing
whole
all
thing.
of this all at once, and it's hard. And then rhythm. Don't everyone forgets about rhythm. Got to keep the rhythm. Got to keep the tempo.
There's a lot going on, bro. And then like
it's intense.
and then you've got like effects pedals and a pedal board, so you're singing and playing, and then like if I have a solo, like I'm singing, got to hold that note in that guitar part, and then hit that volume pedal to play my solo straight out of that.
Yeah,
You
It's
know
a
what I
lot,
mean?
man.
And then finish the solo and hope I don't ruin it, and then like turn that volume pedal off and go right back into the next
How
part.
do you think those loopers feel that have like 15 pedals?
Oh, I know.
Ed
Yeah.
Sheeran setup.
For
So,
sure.
what were some of your influences, Chris? He said you got a lot of 80s
Oh
influences.
yeah, like I don't know. The guy that made me just like fall in love with the sound of guitar was Eddie Van Halen. Well, he pushed me over the edge.
I love it.
I don't know. I just had hearing players throughout time. I'm good. I don't know. Just some about like guitarists that could make like notes sing. I remember like hearing guys on the radio I didn't even know back in the day, but like Neil Sean from Journey. Like people like to shit on Journey, but like
Why?
that dude is a fucking like 6-string legend.
Who do you know that
like-
shits on Journey?
Oh, just because once you reach the
I want
top,
their
people
name and
wanna shit on
address,
you.
and I'll shit on their front
Yeah.
doorstep.
I'll make a Facebook post and be like,
Let's get it,
who
man.
who hates Journey? I know a guy that wants
Take a
to
poll.
find you.
I'll follow every single one of the Journey's phenomenal.
Journey was my
absolutely.
first
Yeah.
ever
But,
concert.
Yeah. Well, I never got to see them live or anything, but like I just remember hearing the
stop
guy's
believing, dude.
sound like on the radio. Boston, Tom Schultz from Boston, like the way he like layered harmonies and melodies all together. I was hearing these guys play and like not knowing exactly who they were, and then come to find out. But like it was Eddie Van Halen. Oddly enough, like watching a rock and roll documentary on the history of electric guitar in a music class in middle school, and I saw that, and I saw him play Eruption like on the. I'd never
yeah.
seen anybody like play up on the neck like that and make it
Yeah.
sound like that. I was like, oh, but I'd heard the name. I heard the name Van Halen from Back to the Future and Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure,
Yeah.
and I was just like, who is this guy? Then I finally heard him, and I was just like, whoa, like
Just blew your
fell in
mind.
love, dude.
Yeah.
like that was it for me.
And Eddie,
then-
Eddie would like play like before their first record came out. He was playing shows with his back turned to the crowd because he didn't want anybody to see what he's doing.
Well, he knew people would steal shit.
100%.
And
You
like,
know what I mean?
That's
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, you go ahead.
I was gonna just ask because Eddie Van Halen clearly a god on the guitar.
He is now.
So who are some of the guitar gods?
He's up there.
Let's do a 3. You
Top
get
three?
top
Top
three
three.
guitarists of all time, and then top 3 guitarists of all time.
I don't know.
I'm starting with Dime.
I can say
Dimebag
favorites.
Daryl, dude.
Dimebag Daryl's like, well, he was like, he idolized Van Halen too.
Right.
So,
but like as my childhood,
yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Like Dimebag Daryl.
Dimebag Daryl from Pantera was like, I mean, he was
My
metal,
Jimi
but
Hendrix.
he was soulful blues that like could handle metal.
That brought the distortion to it.
Yeah.
Oh
like,
my God.
Like
I
he
feel
had the
brought,
soul,
like,
he had the
coolest
soul in his
thing
sound.
ever.
Yeah.
And he figured out a way to like turn it up to that level of intensity.
But there'd be no Dime without Eddie Van Halen.
That's true.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, so the influences are like remarkable. Not to take anything away. So that's my top. Like personal, being a little kid.
Who's your
and
number
being
2
like,
and who's your
whoa.
number 3?
It's so hard to rank them. Too.
You have to. You're under the gun
That's
now.
the rules.
Okay, top 2, like 2 more.
Yeah. So you got Dimebag at 1.
Well, it's like
who do
rhythm
I-
and lead too. Like, is like different.
Okay, so like so I got to talk about like metal bands because the metal stuff, like, so the punk rock stuff was like the attitude, the lyrical content that I could like understand what people are saying,
Yeah.
you know, because I was like super into punk rock stuff because my cousin growing up, like in the skateboard scene, but like, and see, it's all ranked up here. You know, Jimi Hendrix is the best
Well,
of
you
all
gotta
time.
give it
I mean,
But
yeah.
but so like
the
um,
Jimmys.
I would say, you know, when I first heard Pantera, I was like, oh, this music sounds crazy. And then the vocals would come in. I'd be like, oh, like just like anybody else, like when they're first exposed to it, I was like, man, I don't know about the vocals. It's
yeah.
like
What
screaming
the?
and yelling.
It was a little-
fuck? What's he
but-
saying?
It's like an
then-
acquired taste.
But then, like, you know, you kind of like I forced myself into it because I love the drums like so much, and the drums and the guitar.
Intricate.
And then eventually it made sense that those vocals went along with that sound
That's
as
true.
music.
It was like
And-
the intensity, and
And-
like especially on the low end.
Yeah.
It's like the bass drum and then the low end guitar and everything, and then having vocals like because we're talking about Pantera, like he was trying to do like the Judas Priest thing,
Yeah, like
back in the
glam
day.
metal shit.
But then it was just
Because
like
he was Diamond
then they
Daryl
kind
at
of just
first.
they
I did
kinda
not.
were
I
just
didn't know
like-
that.
Yeah, they were just like, and then
Like
the Cowboys
latex.
from Hell
Spandex,
album was kind of like the
spandex, not
cusp
latex.
where they were on to something new, and then they go from Cowboys from Hell to Vulgar Display of Power, and it was like they were all in on the
Yeah.
new sound of like, no, we're not doing those like crazy like melodies. He's just like, bro, like just going hard,
Yeah.
like with that guttural like sound, but like
But he's still saying there's still melody.
there
like,
is melody
you know.
within the scream, but it's like somebody put a distortion pedal on his voice, like almost.
Yeah.
Or
it's-
like he swallowed a bunch of gravel.
and it's just
Yeah.
his natural
Smoked a
body
bunch of
doing
cigs.
it.
But
yeah.
and then I'll never like forget hearing it in the radio in the car for the first time. Like
Where were you then? Like not, driving with your dad?
no, this was like in my full on rebellion.
Hell yeah. How old were you whenever you heard
18,
Pantera?
19, I think was
For the
whenever
first
I
time?
bought the Vulgar record.
Okay.
I think so.
All right.
And, like I know I'd heard some songs on there before, but like just never popped the CD in the car and just go and
Because
then
there's
you
a
hear, like,
whole other
Mouth-
world of shit
Mouth
out
for
there. for
War
you to
like
find.
comes on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's just like, you know, everybody's got their initial exposure to
100%.
whatever.
Yeah.
And I already knew that Pantera like fucking like just rocked everybody's
Shreds.
faces off.
yeah.
But just
Word on the street.
hearing the sounds from like like from start to finish. And then I will take it back. Like the last song on that record, Hollow, a very sad song.
Basic
but like
song.
he sang on that. He wasn't like screaming the whole time. At the end, it goes into like it's like a very emotional song talking about a friend that like is basically like a vegetable, and he's like he's dealing with like the
in a coma.
emotional like out and like he's talking about being mad at God and everything. And
Yeah.
like that's where he like channeled that like aggression at the end. So I don't know.
Heavier
There's
song on
something
the
about it where it's like they had something new that people were looking for, and they just like took over.
And just ran with it.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a weird because when did they start?
It's kind of interesting how music does that though, because like you had whatever, like, and then you have like the Beatles that come along and like
I love the
adjust
Beatles.
it.
Yeah.
Have you seen the Russells? It's the director from Monty Python made like a knockoff called the Russells. It's hilarious. It's on YouTube. You have to watch it.
All right.
We'll have to show you. It's like it's an hour and a half long film. Oh, it's very, very good.
Who's the best guitar player that you've ever listened to? Who's your favorite guitar?
Oh, so how do you?
I'm
feel
only on number 1. You want to hear number 2 and number 3?
And we're back.
Okay, so we got to get back to like talking about my number 2 and number 3. You know what I'm saying?
Your number 2 guy.
My number 2 and number 3 would be like, James Hetfield and like Dave Mustaine, like Metallica, Megadeth. And like, when I was a kid, I found out that, Dave Mustaine from Megadeth used to be a Metallica, and then he got fired because he's like a pain in the butt. And then so he started this other band called Megadeth. And then in the 80s, like he was so pissed about the situation that he just wanted to like be a bigger band than Metallica. So like it turned into this like rivalry, and that's kind of exciting. It's like WWF wrestling, you know what I mean? It's like Ultimate Warrior versus like
versus Hulk Hogan.
Word.
WrestleMania
Yeah.
6.
Yeah, that was my favorite
thing ever.
Hell yeah.
And so like, and so I started learning how to play Metallica songs. And, you learn like Enter Sandman or something. And then you start learning like some of their older stuff off Kill 'Em All. And like, I started realizing that these patterns that I'm playing are like power chords and like the minor pentatonic scale, which is like the blues scale.
Yeah.
So technically they're like a thrash blues band if you break it down, like, technically. And so like, then I started like listening to Megadeth and getting into that, and then started realizing like, whoa, this is kind of like, this is different. And then when I got into like singing and playing guitar at the same time, started realizing like, nothing against James Hetfield because he's the shit and like is the craziest down picking like monster ever. It's like there's alternate picking and down picking, and he down picks pretty much everything, and it sounds like the meanest thing in the world. But like Dave Mustaine, like to sing and play Megadeth songs at the same time, like especially off like Rest in Peace, like Holy Wars, like that first song on that record, to sing and play the verse parts of that song is completely insane. And like has the independence to like play what he's playing and like sing what he's singing at the same time. Like people don't realize like how insane some of these, vocalist, guitar player, songwriter.
They have to like train their brain.
They're just born
pattern
with that
waves,
shit.
or
They can just multitask.
They just literally naturally can do it. That's the wild part about it. It's just like, they're kind of expressing themselves individually. And like I was saying before, Dime just like, he's an amazing guitar player, but he didn't have to worry about like singing and
vocals.
playing guitar at the same time.
Yeah.
And so like, so I, as far as childhood guitar heroes go, I would say that those became my like kind of top 3 at that stage of my development, know?
Yeah.
And so, not to speak for him, like Eddie Van Halen, obviously I love Van Halen, like to death, but like Nuno Bettencourt, right?
Oh, absolutely. Well, it's like,
is he a hero of yours?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Extreme.
Yeah. So who are your top 3?
It's hard to break it down like that, but I guess if you could like draw a line.
I'm talking childhood shit though.
Yeah.
Not
growing
today.
up. What
Growing
got you
up,
into music?
I mean, like especially high school years, as far as like who I listened to the most, I would say Van Halen was up there. Oh man, definitely Nuno Bettencourt from Extreme was just one of those guys where it was so good. He was influenced by guys like Van Halen, Queen a lot. I don't know if you ever listened to Extreme music at all.
You've heard.
Yeah.
You've heard them.
They're
the band that did More Than Words.
Yeah. More than
Yep.
words.
Yeah. Like, funny story about that song, he had to like fight for that to become a single, but it shot up world. But like this guy is such a monstrous guitar player, phenomenal drummer. He grew up in like a huge family. He was like the baby of the family, but everybody was musical.
Like a lot of people, or they were all like huge people?
They were
large
all giants.
people?
Yeah,
They
giants.
were.
Yeah,
And no one was shorter than
No.
7 foot.
No.
There's only 3 of them, but they were
so
enormous.
I think there was like 10 kids in the family, and he was like a baby, and they
Jesus.
had
It's my mom's side of the family.
I've had the pleasure of meeting him a couple of times in different contexts,
hell
and
yeah.
like hearing him tell stories about his background. But just hearing him talk about how like his older brother was his guitar hero, where he like learned how to play off of him, and like he learned how to play drums, and then like eventually went to guitar. And one of the biggest takeaways I learned from him was as far as like hitting, because he's got like a very unique, powerful sound that he's playing, but he's just like, when I play my right hand, I'm just like a drummer, like, you know, like a drummer would hit a hi-hat or whatever. And like, just like
so
such
weird
a
to think
fundamental,
about.
like strong sense of rhythm, you know, because like you are hitting the guitar. Like a lot of people don't think of it like that. It's a percussive instrument in itself, but it's like also harmonic at the same time. So it's like I don't know,
melodic, right?
Yeah,
like, you know, like you're playing melodies, but you're also playing rhythm at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you're not
well,
doing
it's
on
like
drums,
it's
really.
kind of like it is like a blend of percussive and, you know, harmonic, melodic, and everything in there. And I don't know, it just like the way people hit, like whenever like hearing Eddie Van Halen play a chord versus anybody else, like you can say like, oh, I can play the D chord or whatever. Not everybody plays the same.
No.
Like that's a huge takeaway from like listening from what I learned and like hearing people talk about how they learned and came up. So like, you know, you hear the sound of like Eddie Van Halen hitting a chord, Nuno Bettencourt hitting a chord, Slash. Like whenever you hear him play on there, like you can hear him, and that's like the common element that I've learned from.
He's also one
like,
of my favorites, by the way.
Slash is a oh my god.
Well, it's just like the common takeaway from everybody is just like they find their sound. It's like it's almost like a musical journey to like develop your best expressive self, and like not trying to copy off of somebody else, but like just developing your own thing. And then whenever you're like your best, most honest, expressive self, that's where your light shines the brightest, I think. And, you know, so like, I think it's awesome when guys can like make a sound and like play like a ton of notes like super fast, but I also like it whenever somebody can just hold a note and like give it soul. And, you know, somebody who can like bend a string and like with their sense of vibrato and everything, like that, like that's their soul like coming through the instrument. And like there's a huge difference between like a note or a sound made with like a soulful being behind it versus some like generic bullshit, or like you're sounding like just a newbie player. You know, it takes a lot of time and effort and like repetition to develop the capability of doing that. So it's just, I don't know, not to get on a tangent or like that, but like just hearing the guitar players that where you knew like they put that time in, like they had to love what they were doing to be able to like pull that off and like raise the bar like another notch.
Well, a lot of that stuff's like an individual effort, right? Like, I mean, you have to have it in yourself. Like, you know, musicians are nerds until they're like gods. You know what I'm saying?
That checks out.
And I'm not like, I don't worship musicians like gods, but like there are people out there that just like worship
sold
these
their
people.
soul to play the guitar.
You know, which do you know?
That's the folklore, man.
Which do you know who that is referring to whenever they say that?
Blues singer in the South, and
You're getting there?
It was black guy. God, I can't remember his name. Donna. I want to say Donnie.
I can tell you.
Who is it? Tell
if
me.
you want me to, unless you want to keep guessing.
Yeah, he's a Motown blues singer, and
no,
he's
way before Motown.
No, he wasn't.
Yeah,
who was
it?
it?
Yeah, it was.
What was
Robert
it?
Johnson.
Robert Johnson.
So
Yeah, did
he's
he
like-
sing Motown?
No,
He
this was like way before.
that.
There's only
Yeah.
like a few recordings of like him actually.
That was back
like,
when they were
playing.
singing in cans and shit.
Well, that's back when
Like-
people didn't get recorded. Like that was like, so his story, not that that I know all of it, but like I wrote a song on this record, and like if you listen to just to give some backstory of like why I wrote like Who Will Entertain the Entertainers, which is the very last song of my record, like our record. Like there's two people that I'm talking about in this, and then like in the context, which is even deeper. Like, have you ever heard of Atlas Shrugged or like Ayn Rand, which is like a Russian, like,
No.
I don't know if she's considered a refugee, but like she like I think she got over to America and wrote some books like Anthem, the ones that I'm familiar with. I'm not this literary genius or anything, but like Atlas Shrugged was like something my uncle got me. And then like they made this movie that was like 3 parts where like every part of this miniseries this book's like this thick, and it's like every part of this movie, all 3 parts has a different actor for the main actor, which is real weird because they just couldn't keep the budget, to keep these people.
Just kept downgrading.
It was really bizarre, but like it was just kind of about like it was about basically like capitalism and how like capitalism could be the thing that like blows up in our face, because like Ayn Rand came from like socialist Russia and like communist Russia, and like just kind of really observed like what capitalism was and like the potential downfall that capitalism could have.
And she came from Russia?
Oh yeah. And she's talking about like monopolies and like how like eventually once all these giant conglomerate companies like buy everything else, and then
crony
there's just
capitalism.
like,
that's what she was against. Crony capitalism.
Right. And so like and so once everything gets absorbed by the giant company, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Then like that giant company wants to come around and find all the best people that are the best of everything, like engineering and like,
and get rid of the rest.
Specifically, they talked about like this one guy that developed a product, a new kind of metal, other than steel, called Reardon metal. And so is just this whole thing. And basically like there's this guy named John Galt that is an elusive character in this that would show up and talk to the people before the government like forced them to give away their product or sign their like patents away, like for the things that they are the best at, to the government or to this giant monopoly. John Galt would like convince them to leave and bail, and then like remove the most talented people in the country from the ability, like from the acquisition of the monopoly. You know what I mean? So
to keep them out.
He found all the best, like, of everybody that existed to that point, and convinced them to just leave and come with him. And then, like, which left the monopoly hanging, like, because they couldn't really do it themselves.
And this is the story of Atlas Shrugged.
Right. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
And so, this is, like, tied to
So
Who
I'm
Will
tying
Entertain?
into this song, Who Will Entertain the Entertainers,
Okay.
right? So, like, the first reference in this song is about Robert Johnson. Okay? Sold his devil to play, sold his soul to the devil at the crossroads to play the guitar. There's a movie called Crossroads that is about this.
Yeah.
And so like it's
it's a great movie.
Karate Kid.
You say it's a gay movie.
It's a great movie.
Oh, they said it's a gay movie.
Wow, did I really say that?
No,
Like, wow,
you did not.
That's a bold strat.
I really don't think you said that.
I don't think I said that. but yeah. It's definitely great.
Like it's a very happy movie.
I'll have to check it out.
And so like based in the blues. No, so like the first reference is Robert Johnson. The second reference is about John Fogerty from Creedence Clearwater Revival, because he went to he like, I guess he joined the army. Like I looked this stuff up and just had an idea for a song.
Right.
So like I've kind of put these things together. So I guess he like went to the army. Creedence was like a band already. I think his brother was the singer of the band or something. You can fact check me, whatever.
From California,
But then
I believe.
he comes back. Yeah, and then he comes back. And he wrote a song. He wrote songs about the Bayou, but he's from California.
Mm-hmm.
And then like it really connected back in the 60s during Vietnam and stuff. And then so like so basically he got to a point where he signed a deal where like wrote all these famous songs, and then like once Creedence dissolved and he went out on his own, he got sued for playing his own songs.
For sounding too much like Creedence Clearwater Revival.
The likeness rights,
Yeah.
or whatever
That's
it was.
where the business
And-
like overshadows
And then
the art.
Put Me In Coach was written.
Right. Well, so I found that fascinating, because
Buzzkill.
that would be extremely like frustrating, right? Like, I mean, to write, like, have your whole life dedicated to something, and then like get to a point where like you're not allowed to sing like Fortunate Son
Yeah.
because you don't own it anymore.
Right, but it's the way you sound.
And nobody else is allowed to sing that song. You know what I'm saying? And so it kind of, and they went to court, and I don't know really the end of it, but then it's like, who will entertain the entertainers, and when we all just decide to leave you all behind, which would be like, what if all entertainment people, like all the entertainment people, like, there's the business, which is the lawyers and the labels and the stuff. But then, like, what if the artists, all of the artists, like all the actors, all the movie makers, all the songwriters, all the every entertainment entity you can think
Throw
about,
the Thedaysgrimm
just
in there.
disappeared.
What if all the writers went on strike?
No. Yeah, right. Yeah. But
What if that happened?
But what I'm saying is like they didn't go independent. They just disappeared, and there was no music. No new music, no new movies, no new anything except for what you had, and then you had what you had, and you never had anything new.
And like you're
Would
relying
life-
on their offspring.
would life be boring?
To, like make.
I think
No, not even like just nobody made music anymore and
Right.
nobody made movies anymore.
I think
and it
it-
was just because of the fact that like the business tainted it so bad that it put them in a position to be like, all right, like we'll dip. Like I'm not
fuck
saying
this. Yeah.
you know. So can you
I
imagine?
mean,
a
while you
world-
only have the news.
So can you right? So can you
Jesus.
imagine a world with no entertainment, no creative writing, no creativity to the people that like aren't creative? Like people that aren't creative aren't allowed to absorb that anymore because the creative said, you know what? Like if we're not going to get paid for this, or you're just going to like steal from us, you don't get it anymore. Can you imagine what the world
Right.
would be like?
Be numb.
There's some
Dull.
artists doing that too. There was some, I don't know who it was, but they released like when they got famous, they released like several albums, had some top songs, and they're still doing music now. But like if you go to their page, it's like these are their top songs, so they're removing them off of like Spotify.
Well,
Oh,
Taylor
wow.
Swift's like, you know,
She's redoing all their stuff.
Yeah.
huh?
re-recording her own stuff to own all of her original
That's
masters.
true. Like when people sign on, they like the big bait is for like the company to sign the masters over to them. So like when the artist doesn't own their own masters, like catalog, then they really get screwed on the money. But unless they get huge, and then they
then
sell
they
their
buy them.
entire master catalog for like hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yeah, which somebody big just did. Was it the Stones? Just sold their entire catalog to somebody. It was some like revolutionary band like that, and they just sold their entire catalog and made.
it's a big
Oh
thing.
no, I think it was a new artist, Bruno Mars or somebody like that. It was somebody
Really?
fucking
Some
huge,
people are doing it.
and they just sold their entire catalog. They were like, I want, $900 million, and here's all my masters. And
Yeah.
it just happened recently. like,
Have
beginning
you
of the
heard
year.
about the Pink Floyd album and the Wizard of Oz?
Oh, absolutely.
Dark Side of the Moon?
Yeah, and we're like they play and they line up, and it's like
Oh, that's old
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just
That's
heard about it the other day. and I
On,
didn't know
On
that.
Rogan?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's been something like that's been around like in the lore, and it's apparently
those-
coincidental because I guess Roger Waters just said like it's just coincidence, but
Right.
Maybe.
But what about those like songs that people play backwards?
but it's more fun.
Oh, yeah.
but it's so much
Well,
more fun to
it's
feel like it
like-
was on purpose.
It's like it helps like build the mystique and like the folklore behind.
Yeah,
the
the
group.
folklore. That's
yeah,
a good
like
word. Yeah,
that's how it was
Yeah.
back in the day. Like in this,
you didn't
in
have
the
like
heydays.
fake clout.
well,
Yeah,
you didn't
there
have
wasn't-
podcasts where people are like, this is what my song's
Yeah,
about.
it wasn't like a
Yeah.
lens into the life of everything.
Yeah.
Whatever, like, and there, I heard this in another interview. It's like I don't want to see like Mick Jagger making pasta or whatever, like, like on a, or like I don't know who the name was, but it was like some big rock star. It's like I don't want to see him doing that. Like that's the rock.
Could you
star.
imagine if
Like-
Kid Rock teamed up with Martha Stewart's for like a cooking series?
yeah,
or
What
something?
Led
Don't bring
Zeppelin
the
was
Bud
Stairway
Light.
to Heaven on?
Four?
Four?
Yeah,
Zoso?
four, the Zoso album.
Was it 4?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Could you imagine on 4 if they just like released that, but then also went on 9 podcasts the week that it released, and they were like, "Hey, check out what this song sounds like backwards." Ooh,
Right.
what does that
Yeah.
do?
Look
for
what I
you?
did on
It's like-
purpose.
yeah,
like,
just
it-
like throw
it
all
ruins
their
it.
tricks
It
out
ruins
there.
it. But you got
Yeah.
a buddy that lives down the street who has a record player who just bought Led Zeppelin 4, and you listen to it, and you were like, "Oh, I heard some guys that were smoking weed behind the dumpster. They were talking about if you play Stairway backwards, yeah, right here." And then you do it to it like he's like, "Oh fuck, now I gotta get this album. I gotta."
It's like
yeah,
four,
dude.
it's
And
just
then
like the
it's-
420 rumor.
was
and
like-
how,
yeah,
like,
it's just
yeah.
like you
There
said,
was
the
this-
folklore. It like builds like an aurora or like an aura, if you will.
Yeah.
Yeah,
not
for
aurora.
sure.
Aurora.
Which I
It's
love.
like I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what it was with the like playing rock metal music backwards, but like that turned into a whole thing.
Yeah.
Like, did you ever
Like
see the
O-
movie Trick or Treat?
like Ozzy?
Like
No, I
with
didn't know.
Ozzy Osbourne, like
Uh-uh.
a cameo in there. But like the main character guy, he was obsessed with this rock star dude who died in a tragic accident. He was all messed up, but like
Death of the Week.
he gets this record that's apparently possessed, and he like puts it on his turntable and he turns it backwards, and it's just like and it like starts talking to him in a
Is
like
this it?
super low demonic voice.
2007.
No, this was like in the 80s.
Oh,
Yeah, it's probably
But,
a
like,
remake. They
Gene
remake
Simmons,
everything.
Gene Simmons and Ozzy Osbourne both made cameos in it. It's like
Do you think
it's
there's
a
gonna
cool
be-
little, since we're on like the Halloween ish kind of thing, but like
Do you
it's
think
a-
there'll be any like crazy music that comes out of these areas where they're like legalizing like everything? Because like if you like, wasn't Hendrix on all kinds of like drugs or whatever?
Oh,
and,
he
like
was,
plays
yeah,
like
he
mad
enjoyed-
crazy.
yeah, that's
You know,
the one.
I don't. I mean, I think that he was doing acid and smoking weed and stuff like that. Like, I mean, you know, Rogan talks about how he did a bunch of heroin or something, and I'm like, I never heard about him doing like a bunch of crazy drugs. Really, I think he set his guitar on stage. He ate somebody dosed him with acid or something. He lit his guitar on stage, but it's because he wanted to scare the shit out of Eric Clapton or something. Like,
Or like you hear like Ozzy eating a bat.
I think behind
or
that,
something.
like like there's something to do with like between him and Clapton. And Clapton was like the guy, like the guitar god at the time.
At the time, yeah, he was up there.
And there's something to do with him setting his guitar on fire because Clapton was there and he wanted to scare the shit out of Clapton.
Could you imagine like Wonderful Tonight with the guitar on fire?
But I think that like he gets a rap for drugs because of he died like because I think he asphyxiated on his own vomit after like this girlfriend of his like gave him some kind of crazy pill to like help him sleep or something, but it's like a barbiturate, and then she just wasn't paying attention to him, and he was just out, and I think he fell asleep in a chair or something. But I mean, I could be wrong about all this.
It was mouth up though.
What's that?
He fell asleep mouth up, and that's
yeah.
And he wound up aspirating.
As far as I know, like not that you know, I'm not an aficionado and all this stuff, but that's what I
wonder if
was led
those
to
people
believe.
that developed, like you were saying, like the guy that turned his back to the crowd. Like I wonder if they're just like out of their mind and like trying to learn how to play the guitar like differently or whatever.
No, I think that they're just straight genius like murderers.
Have you seen
like,
those
like just
wizards at it?
special forces level,
Yeah.
guitar, like
scary
musicians.
fucking good.
Have you seen those people
Yeah.
that like during a show will like turn the guitar towards the drummer and the drummer plays the strings?
Yeah,
as
I
the
love that
person?
shit.
That's
That's
shit's
wild.
wild.
Like that's just
Like I said,
performing and
percussive
entertainment.
instrument.
right.
Yeah.
That's
What's
what,
your? Do you guys have a so in the metal community, in the rock community, there's a drummers get a lot of cred,
Hell
which
yeah,
is
dude.
face.
well, I wasn't going to ask about the face. I have a unique question.
Hell yeah, they get good
but
cred.
they get good cred in the
Yeah,
rock community, especially in the metal
'Cause they're
community, because like
badass.
Chris said, it's very intense, it's very fast, it's
Tight.
it's very tight, little room for error. You know what I mean? It's if you want to nail it.
Yeah.
But like Joey Jordison always stuck out to me for his stunt he did on stage where he strapped into the 5-point harness and
She
then,
ripped off of Tommy Lee.
right or what? Okay, so Tommy Lee did it first, but either way,
For sure.
do you have like a favorite drummer stunt, whether it's like a music video or
Stunt?
where it was live? Because you got like Raining Blood, where he would go on stage and just have him like pour gallons and gallons of like red dyed water or whatever the hell it was, and he's just like wigging the hell out. And then you've got like Joey Jordison, and you've got Tommy Lee. I'm trying to think. There's got to be some others. I figured
Dude, Alex Van Halen used to light his drumsticks on fire. He like do all that. Vinnie Paul from Pantera did the on fire thing for that. What was it? The video for 5 Minutes Alone or something like that.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Yeah, fire.
I
Fire
personally,
is
I think that
cool.
like, I mean, as far as like stunt drummers, which is a funny
stunt drummers. Yeah, stunt drummers.
So stunt drummers. There's a band called Fever 333 and another band called Night Versus, I think. Can you look that up real quick and find out what their drummer's name is?
Night Versus.
I feel like like I would try to say his name. Let's find the drummer real fast.
Eric Improda?
Yeah.
Prada. And
Yes.
Proda.
Yeah, Eric with like an
With an A.
A-R-I-C, just R-I-C, A-R-I-C, Improda. If you watch his videos, you will see him jump off. Like, I mean, he'll play and then like kind of take a break and then jump off something huge and just land on the drum throne and go back to playing. And his drumming is completely insane. Like, I mean, he's a remarkable, not only is he a remarkable player, but he can like jump off his drum throne and do a backflip and then land back on his drum throne and go right back into the thing. And to me, like Night Versus is like the band that really like, you know, I find relatively incredible.
He just does it seamlessly. Like
Oh my
hops
God.
out of his chair and then keeps it going.
That's
Yeah,
so
he's definitely like when you're talking about stunts, like he's probably not going to strap himself into something that like flips him upside down, but he will jump off of something upside down at some point, probably
Stick the landing and then shred.
and just keep going, dude. Like, I mean, yeah, very remarkable player, very like stand out. Like,
So, what's one of your
technician,
favorite
really.
songs off this album?
off of what album?
Alpha.
Alpha.
Oh,
Yeah, let's tie it back to you guys. Enough of this crazy drummer shit.
Favorite song? That's hard for me to say because you know
what one did you enjoy
Yeah, it's
making the
which,
most? Do you
which
think?
is your favorite kid?
that's weird. Yeah, yeah. I hate all my kids.
They all have.
I'm just kidding.
Well, it's okay. You're not the.
That's
you're
not-
the
He
only
said,
one.
"Oh,
that's not
okay."
that's not true at all. I have a
No
stepson. And
hesitation.
I
He was like,
have
"Yeah,
a
that's
stepson
fine,
and I
dude.
love him to death.
That's totally normal."
I'm just talking shit. No, when it comes down to this album, like, I mean, you know, to be honest, like, I'm writing the next album right now, so like, I'm kind of like over this record already,
Right.
you know. But as far as performing, what songs do I like to play the most? We usually close with the song Aphrodite, just because it kind of hits. I think it hits harder live than it does on the record.
Good finishing note.
I think that Under the Light of a Bad Moon is like one of my, I would say one of my favorite songs to play because I think that it really kind of like between my vocals, I play acoustic guitar on this. Chris plays electric guitar on this, and actually, fun fact: the drummer from Mock Orange. You know who that is? You know who
Yeah.
Mock Orange is?
I'm at a loss.
Okay, well, they are probably the most successful original band, like to date. They tour US and like, I mean, in the 90s they were like on an MTV2 tour in Japan on
shit.
a regular basis. They're not like the biggest local band because they played all over kind of the world.
They bounced out and started nailing shit.
So you should definitely like, you know,
I need to check
dive
these
in.
dudes out.
Yeah, definitely check out like their first like start on their first record. Like
Yeah.
their first record's like
Anyway, Heath from the band, Heath Metzger, the drummer, he is the first guy that we ever like got in a room with to like
Got on stage
the
with.
three of us.
Wow.
Well, yeah, like
Both.
the three of us to ever like get it. But yeah, our first, how many gigs did we play with him?
2 or 3
Yeah,
at least. I mean,
but
if not
great
more.
guy, like great drummer. Like he's been a drum instructor. Like I played in bands where people were like,
He's a good
he
friend
was
of mine
the
too.
teacher of people I played with, and
That's
That's
dope.
And we
Wow.
play
Yeah.
golf. Like he and I play golf together.
Solid
We're-
guy.
We're close. But yeah, and he lived down the street from me. I was like, yo, you know, I got these songs. Like, you want to like just see if we can like it sounds worth the shit. Play them together as a
Yeah.
band instead of just recording them. So yeah, we were like hanging out, and so like the same kind of approach I took with him on that song was what I do with him, where I'm just like, go and see what happens.
Right.
Like, I just want what comes out of you like right now kind of thing. I gave him a little bit of direction, but like in general, like, I mean, you know, he tracked, so he's playing drums on that song.
That's
Just to be clear. And then Nathan Winberg, which is who plays bass with us live. He's on that song. So that's the only song on the record where it's like me, Heath on drums, me playing vocal or, you know, singing vocals and playing acoustic. He's playing the electric guitar parts, and then Heath's playing the drums on that song.
Yeah.
And then Nate's actually playing the bass on that song. And so that song actually surprisingly hits pretty hard as like a rock and roll song live. Like
It's
one of my-
solid.
I like a
Solid
good
tune.
acoustic tie.
What do you think your
Yeah.
favorite song is on the album, or favorite one to play?
I am partial to the ones that I've played on.
Yeah.
So like Under the Light of Bad Moon, I play the solo on that one. I play the solo on I play the second solo on Burn Town. I play the solo on Aphrodite, and also the solo on Requiem. But like as far as like solos on most, they all have like different characteristics and everything. But like so I like them all. They all have like different vibes. Like the Under the Light of a Bad Moon is kind of like chill and whatever. Like you really get to like the phrasing and just like the singability on that tune, on what I get to play on, is like really cool, really fun. Aphrodite solo, it's a little bit like somber and like melancholy to me. Like
not
that's
slower, but like
Kinda
it's like
sad.
it
Yeah,
like it
sadder.
falls down. It's kind of like driving, but then like the middle section like falls down and kind of like just goes into like a little bit of a different vibe. And then at the very end of the solo, like one of my favorite parts is just like there's just this massive tom hit, and it's like that's the switch,
like an
And-
eruption.
Yeah, well, it's just like it like pulls it out of like that somber vibe,
Yeah.
and it like becomes more powerful. I don't know. There's just something about it, like the switch
Yeah,
that
sure it
happens
hits.
on there. It's pretty fun. Burntown is just like, it's just pumping. So I had to come up with something that's like, you got a very driving, like drum beat, and then the harmony behind it. It's just, I don't know. I had to spend some time on that one. Requiem, it's another thing too, where I really wanted to capture the vibe of like the message of the song and everything. It's like, it's like it's missing someone, and just kind of like tying that emotion into the notes and like exploring the range of like what you can do and everything. It's just I don't know.
So you got
I had to
four
get
big
myself
ones.
into a state of so I mean, I'm sure the next record there'll be like more, but like this was like a culmination of years of work all coming together for him to like express himself musically the way he wanted to. So, and I'm like totally supportive of that. But whenever he's just like, I want you to play on this part, I'm just like, all right.
I'm like,
so
go.
we'll see what happens. So,
So can you play any of this stuff? Like, I mean,
I can.
I mean, I own the rights to everything, so like, you're not going to get in trouble if you play.
We were
that
gonna have
section.
They'll flag us for copyright, and then we just send them something saying we had permission.
Yeah.
So we were
I mean,
gonna-
I don't want to screw you up or
No,
anything.
you
but
won't.
No.
I'm down to like just kind of, for an example, like maybe scrub into like maybe a solo section or something.
Yeah, we can do
unless
that real
that's
fast.
unless that's going to screw you up.
No, we can do that real fast, and then we'll wrap up on.
But real
on
quick,
that.
I want to talk about just real fast. I want to talk about the other two members of the band, because like now, like we've got like we're writing this next record, and like we're more of like writing as a band now. You know what I'm saying? So we're in a room
It's like culinary,
Yeah,
like together
for
effort.
sure. So like I've got Jason Rager like playing drums
Mhm.
now, and like because I was trying to find a drummer because Heath was like still like 100% like committed to Mock Orange.
Mock, yeah.
So like he had to go like on tour and like
Gotta
to
go,
Japan
guys.
and
You
do,
know what I mean?
like,
Yeah, I
do
get
a
you.
full US thing. Like,
Yeah.
and so there's no hard feelings. Like I already knew that, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so like once Heath's time kind of played itself out, honorably, 100%, because we still talk all the time. I was thinking like, who the hell's going to play drums on this? And I was actually pretty conservative playing the drums on this record because I didn't want to just have to find this. I didn't want to have to find somebody that could play like I could.
Just like you can.
Not
Yeah.
trying to be-
Same aggression or at same tempo or speed or
Yeah, because-
finesse or whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because it's actually it's hard to find people that can, like me, just go, do this.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so like I was relatively like conservative on this record just because I wanted to be able to find somebody that could play it. But like if you listen to the record, like all these songs are like different styles, like approach to like I've got like Latin influences, I got like straight punk rock influences, I've got like, just kind of almost an approach to relative world music.
Yeah.
Like trying to just kind of explore all the different kind of rudiments I could use as a drummer and like just keep it fresh kind of thing.
Very
and
Foo
like,
Fighters of you.
yeah, and Rager was like, a killer. Like, he's like marching band chops.
And it's Jason Krager?
Rager.
Rager.
It looks like Rager, but
he
yeah.
is a rager on the
Yeah,
drums.
he rages, dude. And so he was in a band called Exempt back in the day, 3-piece instrumental band. And like anytime that Deliver Us From Evil, because like we were in the band Deliver Us From Evil, you can find it on Spotify, was, playing together, I always would watch him and be like, yeah, and we always got along kind of like off stage and like, just, behind the scenes kind of stuff. And I always respected him and thought he was, killer, and we got along. And so I called him and he hadn't been active. And so I call him up and I'm like, hey, like, you just want to do like dudes night? Like we get together and play some songs. Like I got some songs, like, you just want to get together and hang out again and see what's going on. Cause we hadn't talked to each other in years. So I sent him the demos and then, he showed up and just play them.
He was on board.
Thank God, and there's some tweaking that we had to do and stuff, but now he's like so dialed in. Now he's back, like playing all the time, like subbing in for other bands and writing drum parts for other bands. Because when you find a drummer that can do it, everybody wants them.
Right.
So drummers, they say drummers are that word. What word would you call that? Starts with the W. Second.
He's thinking of whore.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Yeah, that's the word. Yeah. You said it, not me.
Yeah.
Like
But,
a prostitute.
They want to call people drummers because
Drummers of the evening.
we can kind of float around, but we can
They
kind of
like to
float
bang
around.
a lot
And
and get
your,
paid for it.
Your bass player
Bang
is
on drums.
your bass
Yeah.
player is no
The 4-string or is he a 5-stringer?
He can play whatever.
was it
dude.
Noah?
So no, Nathan.
Nathan.
Yeah, sorry. And so like so Nate, like he plays bass with us, but he's a killer piano player. Can play drums. Can play the guitar. Can play anything.
Yeah, you usually find that with like someone that's delved in music.
And and he's not just like a bass player that people want to like, write off. Like he is a bass player, like bass player. Like I mean, he's killer. You know what I mean? And I feel lucky as hell to like even have these dudes in a room with me. You know what I'm saying? So I'm the lucky one out of all this, just so it's clear. But like, so the fact that we're writing a new record now past this stuff, and I don't have to be conservative, and I've, at least got this under my belt, and like now I'm like kind of being able to like kind of write more intense type stuff. So we're getting a little heavier on this next record, but I also want to get like even more chill. So I want to explore like the depths of like how heavy. we're not going to go like extreme metal, but like how heavy can we make the show? But then how can we do like an acoustic set?
Yeah, like stretch it out like a piece of gum, and you got your heavies out
You know
here,
what I
and then
mean?
you got a nice little silhouette in the middle.
Can this band be an acoustic act sometimes, or be like a heavy band set, or like kind of a in the middle like digestible act? You know
more
what I'm saying?
ubiquitous?
Yeah, just
like able to be put in different venues and different places.
For sure.
Yeah, you're like
Throw a
advert-
cajon on there.
dude.
What's
Get,
that?
get you a
Throw
cajon.
cajon on
I'm
there.
down.
Dude,
I've got a
fucking-
cajon, bro.
Yeah, like
A Cajun?
we've talked about designing like a full acoustic, and we've done like acoustic sets, but like not as like a full band. Like, kind of like the band that set the standard for doing that was like Alice in Chains back in the day.
Love Alice in Chains.
Like the Unplugged,
one of my favorite bands ever.
the
Yeah.
Unplugged concert they did. It's like it was still Alice in Chains, and it was still as amazing as it was like when it's like full electric set,
Full five
So it was
piece,
just like
yeah.
one of those things where they proved like you can absolutely do that.
Like Tiny Desk has one every now and then that's really good.
Oh, dude. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
What do you mean, Guar? The Guar one? The one that had Guar
I haven't seen
on
that
it?
one.
You got to look up Guar Tiny Desk.
Oh
dude.
my dude, I love the Tiny Desks though. They're great. They have great hip hop guys
It's
on there.
it's
But
an
they,
awesome
they also
concept.
did like a Post Malone one where he did like some kind of off-brand stuff for him. And I
Dude, Post Malone's Nirvana.
I heard about that.
Post Malone's like Mac Miller's was dope. Yeah, he died, right?
Yeah.
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 yeah,
Yeah.
Mac Daddy passed.
Well, Heath Metzger introduced me to Mac Miller and told me his whole backstory. He's super
Stud.
into it.
Yeah, he's a
for
stud.
sure.
Yeah.
For
Mac
sure.
Miller. I don't
Yeah.
know the guy you're talking about.
I'm sure Heath is a
Yeah.
stud
Heath
too.
is a
but
stud.
Mac
Heath-
Miller
no,
is
Heath,
Oh, Heath the drummer.
told me about
Or yeah, Heath from
Mac
Mock.
Miller.
Okay.
And like showed me all this stuff and was like super into it and gave me the
Yeah.
backstory and
He's
like,
a
you know,
stud.
yeah. So
So what's one song that we should scrub through real fast that's not
Yeah,
going to be
just
the outro song?
just check like go to Requiem and go to, let's see, because I think that, that's like the most you say that's like relatively most expressive solo?
It's
And
a
watch your
very
volume, Drew.
like it's a
solid achievement. So I think
Yeah.
that if you went from, it's like the last 3/4 of the song probably.
like 2.5 minutes in or something like that.
Oh,
Uh-oh, we
I-
got some action going on in the background.
there's been
What? Check the
Muted
tabs.
muted audio files going this whole time.
Oh,
Shit.
Hell yeah.
sick, dude. I love that.
So you got
for
like
us.
another person's podcast like on our podcast now.
No, that was
but
us.
it's
muted, but
this
yeah.
podcast, but
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so like if you double click that, it should give you a timeline maybe.
It is. You just can't see it.
Okay.
And then it may sound a little grainy too, but post production it sounds a lot cleaner as well.
There you go. Go back a little bit. You scrub. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Up quite a bit. Click, click, click. Go back. There we go.
All right. Yeah, it's a solo section. Like, well, it's a heavy topic. It's him talking about his dad dying, and so like, I don't know. It's just like kind of just like harnessing that emotion and just like honoring the spirit of that relationship that you miss, and just kind of like going over the structure of the song, and then it drops off right here. He's like, write something over this. So it's like, this is what I came up with. And
Yeah.
it's just,
I'm the odd man out.
Here
I
we go.
don't have headphones.
oh, sorry.
I'll hear it in post.
It's playing right now.
So yeah, and then we go into like just a band like hit.
But the drum solo, this is part of the guitar solo. All right, so yeah, so that gives you a little dose of like what Chris does. You know what I'm saying? And like, so yeah, Requiem's the name of a song that you play at a funeral.
Yeah, correct.
You know what I'm saying? So it's just, went through some shit during the pandemic, and what do? You kind of write about the shit that you go through.
Yeah, because then it just makes your art more like what you're going, like you said earlier, when you go to write a song, what am I feeling right now? Write this song. Like that's how it should be. That's how songwriting, that's how art making should go. Like where are you at right now? What headspace are you in at this moment? And start making some art.
And I'm just lucky to like have ideas.
I think that's and then also, what song did you guys want to outro on today? We mentioned Burntown. We mentioned what?
How about Too Little Too Late? Like I think Too Little Too Late might be the one, just because it's got the most numbers, and it seems like it's kind of like, gives you a little dose of like what to expect.
Okay.
Like
So-
listen to it while you're driving a car real fast.
Hell yeah.
So Alex, along the curation process of this album, was there ever a moment where like you just wanted to throw in the towel on it, and like maybe you don't go into the moment necessarily, but like what pulled you through that? What kept you going? What kept what led to getting us Alpha today?
Yeah, I think that the hardest part about this was like me figuring out like what my voice was supposed to be. You know what I mean? So there was like on Burntown, honestly, like I went and tracked that record or that song thinking, I know what I'm going to do. And I like went in and like just couldn't find it. It's not like I couldn't hit the notes, but I just didn't have like I had to figure out a way to like develop a character in my voice.
Attitude.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, how to approach it.
That
And
signature.
So I definitely left the studio that day, the first attempt, like completely,
Disheartened.
yeah, like, just like disappointed in myself. Just like, oh shit, like this song's not going to be what I thought it was going to be. And then like the next time that I went, I remember I did another pass on it. And then I remember doing it going, this is it. This is the thing, but like I was working and doing a bunch of stuff, and I was like so kind of tapped, like exhausted, like going into that vocal performance, that I left, and I knew that I knew that it was going to be what I wanted, but I couldn't listen to that song for like maybe 4 or 5 days, because I was just like, I was so tapped that I was just like, dude, I don't even want to listen to it. Like, I don't even like, I probably didn't do it. I'm probably going to hate this.
Right.
Went 4 or 5 days before I listened to it again, and finally listened to it. I was like, all right, thank God.
That's all right.
Like I got, well, at least I got my point across in it. And that was the toughest part, because that was my imposter syndrome. It's like coming from a drummer and like playing guitar and like singing in front of people is like terrifying, really, until you do it enough to where like you don't care anymore and you're used to it, so I'm at that point now. But like that, this is a kind of a period of growth for me as a creative person, to like really put myself in like the most uncomfortable position like ever, you know what I'm saying? And like, and I kind of need that. Like I kind of thrive on being uncomfortable, because it kind of puts me in a position to do something like worth doing, I feel like. And so, getting this one out of the way, and then like having these dudes in a room on a regular basis now, like we are like so tight at this point that like, playing live is like the most fun shit that we can do now. And we don't have to think anymore. We can just like, we can read each other on stage, give like, kind of visual cues to one another, and we know what we're saying, and like we know what to expect. And like if somebody messes up, like we kind of laugh it off, and like, just get back, keep the train on the rails.
Keep it rolling.
You know what I'm saying?
Push through technical difficulties.
And just own
like
it.
Doing
like,
all the things.
Yeah, pushing through technical difficulties.
And like just pressing forward.
Yeah.
And not crumbling into disaster, because it sucks to see that like happen in person, like, in whatever performance situation.
Like a production just falls apart.
Yeah. And sometimes it's not people's fault, but sometimes it is, of like,
not being prepared.
Yeah. But it's just like the performance is, depending on the context of like how important it is to maintain your poise and everything. Sometimes we've been in situations where it's just like, okay, we're jamming, it's like, cut it, 1 second, we got to work this out. Like we've done that a couple times, I think, but just like little club show.
So to your darkest moment though, when you left that studio and you were like, man, you had that imposter syndrome, what was the foot that was pushing on the gas that made you go back and, all right, let's cut it again?
Oh yeah. Well, I mean,
I've got a motivation?
I've just got a built-in inner monologue that says, "Shut up, dude! Like, just go do it." Like, I mean, there's a lot of times where I wake up in the morning and I don't want to do what I'm expected to do.
Yeah.
And like, I just say,
"Shut up,
tough shit." Like,
yeah,
go do it anyway. And like, you need to pull this off. And there's no, you have to. That's all it boils down to.
Right.
Be uncomfortable. Like, who cares? Nobody cares about my comfort, you know what I'm saying? And so like, it's one of those things where I've had to kind of train myself to still perform at a professional level, like feeling sick or feeling like I don't want to do it,
not
100,
like
burn out or like whatever. It doesn't matter like how I feel. Like I have to like follow through with the things that I say that I, if I say I'm going to do it, like I'm,
right.
And so the darkest part of this record is like the fact that, I went through the pandemic, thought that I'd never work again and like, had some very close people in my life die. Without the ability to like actually like around them or see them or like, the whole thing. So like, anybody, not to get dark on this stuff, but it's, that's all in this, you know what I mean? And so like, it's just part of the game. And it's like, I'm not the only person that had to like deal with stuff like that, And so at least I had something to focus on like during that. And I'm lucky that like what came out of it was, getting a group of dudes together, a group of people at least that like, are on the same page, enjoying themselves and willing to like even carry it past where I started this. Because, it's a tough game to like holler at friends and be like, hey, you guys want to get together and like write a record? 'Cause you don't know what that is. It's got to be started. Something's got to start it. There's got to be a catalyst, And so, at this point, we're tired than we've ever been. We were playing songs off the next record already live. So if you come see us, like,
trying them out.
Yeah, and like they're going over, and so that'll be exciting because will already have been like playing them and be like super tight. So when we go record them, it's gonna be like a breeze.
Yeah,
just playing another show.
It's not like we have to figure out what it is like in the studio. Like we already know what it is. You know what I'm saying?
Hey,
Sancho,
Marlboro, tighten up over there.
Now, so but like and so not just with that, just we're playing a show on Black Friday, November 24th, with a dude that's on tour right now in Europe, and he's coming through full U.S. tour, and another local dude, like a songwriter, Cage Willis. You know who Cage Willis is? Yeah, so like he's doing great, and he's doing his own. Like he went on tour with like Foreigner, him and his band.
Yeah, they did
like a theater
arena tour opening
sick.
up for Foreigner.
Yeah, and then so there's Cage.
They need an album cover of just Feds
Great dude.
for the 70s show.
Killer band. And then like so he's going on tour with a guy named Jared James Nichols from Nashville. Like Chris has already seen this dude. He played in like Boonville of all places. Murdered it.
That's
You know?
where one of the band members from Five Finger Death Punch came
Yeah,
from.
Boonville gets good gigs,
Yeah.
dude.
The
They
drummer.
get good
Yeah.
artists
The original
out
drummer.
there.
Dude, Boonville's just full of talent.
I don't know what. Well, the people even travel out
It's all
from.
that Bush Light.
I guess, and we're gonna cover dates and stuff at the very, very end of the show too. So don't think I'm skipping over you.
No,
But
you're-
I'm,
no
I'm,
worries.
I'm more curious about Chris. During the making of this album, did you have a moment where you were like, "Fuck
I
this"?
think just like
And then if you did, what I
Well-
care most about is what was the foot on the gas that pulled you out of that like rut or dark moment that you were hitting or whatever.
Well, basically like him talking about the COVID era and everything. It was like most of the stuff I tracked was like post pandemic, kind of like, you know, everybody's like, my life kind of just like stopped and I didn't know what was going to happen with everybody else. I kind of just like went with the flow and just kind of just like let it unfold, and then trying to stay positive. Like having a project to work on musically was definitely a positive light during the dark time. Not everything came out initially the way I wanted it to. I think whenever we were like trying to track Burntown, I was having a hard time like coming up with like phrasing that sounded natural and like that flowed together and everything. And some of the parts are kind of hard to play, like a lot of lots of kind of fast-paced 16th note action going on, and like some phrasing that
moving
just like,
really quick, jumping
that's the
across the
scariest
board.
song. Like,
Yeah.
I've got a lick on there that like the band drops out, and I have to nail this like legato thing. The
Yeah.
legato.
I told you, I was like, you wrote that part.
Oh,
man,
I know.
so now you got to play
It is the
it.
perfect part for the song, but it's the scariest. Like, here we go.
Oh, it's just like a little descending run. That's it's a great alternate picking exercise. So I hope you've been doing your workouts.
So yours was just COVID in general, really. Kind of the
Yeah,
dark
it's
moment.
just one of those like me, like a lot of people where it's just like life as you know it.
Oh, it's
was
not
just, like,
essential.
It seems like this album pulled you both out of that COVID
Yeah, it
and
kept
like
you guys
loss.
like
Absolutely.
stayed
Like,
kept you
for
positive.
me, it's like it kind of reinforced the idea of like having something to look forward to that you feel like fulfillment about. And that's what, to me, artistic expression really is. I mean, no matter how you do it, for me, it's just been like, I've always just wanted to pursue the idea of like expressing myself through that modality, and just like, developing the technique to make it happen with, working with your hands, whether it's
Right.
just like playing music on an instrument or like creating a picture like on a canvas, or
Right.
pointing a camera. That's another, he works with cameras. Like I work with cameras now as one of my jobs, and
Yeah.
it just being able to like use it as a mode to shine a light on something that you have a feeling about.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
way to stay positive no matter what duress you may be in or under. And then also, so we are going to outro on which one was it?
Burntown.
Burntown. We're outroing on Burntown, but before we get to that tune, the last couple minutes we like to give to you guys for shout outs, obviously to the other two band members that aren't here today, but also anyone else that's helped you guys as a group get to where you are, and keep you
dates and
going.
upcoming events.
Yeah, and then dates and upcoming events. So the last couple minutes is all you guys. So, and then when you wrap up, we'll go ahead and outro on Burntown.
Well, first, I got another project that I track drums on for a metal band called Silent Civilian. And the singer of Silent Civilian is very well known as far as the frontman of a band called Spine Shank in the 90s. They're on Roadrunner Records, played Ozfest on MTV, like the whole thing. I went on tour with them in 2011 as a drummer. During the pandemic, not only was I working with this, but like I found out that they were working on a new record, and I contacted him. And then like through that process, we wrote around like 14 or 15 songs, and like over the internet, because
Right, you can record them and send them.
That's the way we do it now.
yeah, so he's in Portland now. The other guitar players in Long Beach, California, and then the bass players in Richmond, Virginia. So we have all these songs in the can. We got 2 singles out. One's called My Addiction. The other one's called De La Morta. That's on Spotify. But like, I mean, killer metal. Like, he's a killer songwriter. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, mad props to that dude. Love him to death. And like, so we've got, apparently like he's working on getting a new song to drop like here pretty soon. But there's 2 singles with me playing drums on that project right now. Those songs so hopefully, we get around to finishing that up, and then there's potential like stuff like that. And so like, I just wanted to mention that now XANDERWOLF's got a show, like I mentioned earlier, with Jared James Nichols. Check this dude out. Like, I mean, Zach Wild approved.
Literally
Bonamassa
all the
approved.
guitar heroes
And
I
this
love.
is all post Halloween, correct? Because we're recording in
Yeah,
advance.
like
Yeah.
the day after Thanksgiving at Boca Lounge.
Black Friday.
Oh
Yeah,
shit!
so-
Yeah, so instead of like going out there and buying that PlayStation 5 for like 30% off, trampling like all the old
Yeah,
people.
order it on
in
Monday
addition to
on
in
Amazon.
addition to all that, you can come enjoy a show
Yeah.
at the end of your day.
Yeah, get
Yeah, at
hyped
the
up
end of your day.
beforehand.
Yeah.
You know?
After you trample the people,
Yeah, do whatever you got to do.
I'm pro
to get that
trample.
big
Get
screen
the good
TV.
deals. I mean, if you're gonna go in the mix, like
After
get
you
ready for
after
whatever.
you camp out at Target.
I'm very pro trample, just for the record.
And then so we're going to be playing that show.
So Black Friday at Boca.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's the only main show like on the list.
Tickets where?
It's on
At the door?
Jared James Nichols' website. He has a tour link on there, and you buy tickets through that link.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you can buy them there too, I think.
At the door, probably.
I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure that's like the main source of where.
I'll sneak you in, dude.
Any
Show
date
up.
on the new album?
I'll take your
Don't
money and
tell him.
sneak you in. You know,
That's what I'm
Don't
talking
tell him.
about.
I'm telling him.
I'm not going to turn anybody away. But
No, but this guy is a legit, like, he is like carrying the torch for like blues rock guitar, and he looks like a pro wrestler that can like just
Fuck yeah.
shred on guitar.
He's like this. He's a little bit bigger
he's
than that.
jacked.
He's
He's
a
got
little bit bigger than that.
We got to call a quick timeout.
No, he's
And now,
yeah.
All right.
Doing okay?
Cool.
Yeah, so Jared James Nichols, he is like one of the most respected like blues rock guitar players, right?
Up and coming. Yeah, he's got the certified seal of approval by all the legit players. He's a awesome performer, awesome player, super cool guy. It's pretty cool that he's coming through town to stop and play a club.
Yeah, and we're like, we're honored to like have the opportunity to like be able to, open the show. Like we're gonna play a 30-minute set. It's probably gonna be like we're probably gonna swing pretty hard, in the 30 minutes that like we're playing this.
Right.
We might throw like, one of those acoustic based like rock songs like in the mix, just a tad.
Any of the new songs?
2 of the new songs, probably. Maybe, like probably 2 new songs. We might even have like a surprise cover that we like bust out. You know what I mean?
Maybe.
I mean, there's 2 particular covers. Have you ever heard the band Muse?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we've got 2 Muse songs that we've been enjoying ourselves with. And, it's extremely possible we might just like throw one of those in the mix, just see how it goes over on stage.
Right.
You know what I mean? I love that band. I think that band's insane. If you've never heard of Muse, look them up on YouTube and watch them play in front of 100,000 people.
Yeah.
Or so. Like, it's a pretty incredible band. But, it's been a fun time to be able to kind of experiment with what we're capable of, what we can do. And the fact that, this Jared James Nichols guy is coming through and like they're allowing us to play and giving us
on
this
stage with
opportunity. We're really looking forward to it, the day after Thanksgiving, November 24th. So feel free to come out and support, a bunch of bands that actually write their own music.
Are there any other shows after that one?
We have a few things that we're talking about right now, but like, I think the main focus after this show is to like really kind of start recording again.
Okay.
And I don't know if we're going to do an entire record all at once, but like we're at least going to get like probably 4 or 5 songs in the can and, just be able to like work together as a band in the studio at this point to see what the next kind of evolution of this thing is, because that's what we're trying to figure out. Like,
Right.
What is this band? Like, what the hell are we doing?
Are you gonna shoot for like a summer album? You think?
Yeah, and like, I'm down to come back and talk about that, and like
Yeah,
the
for sure.
progress and stuff. We're probably going to shoot a couple music videos as well, and then like kind of get all this stuff buttoned up, and then try to get vinyl pressed for like this record, and like it's a lot of stuff. And when you're not a label and you're not getting any money fronted, then like it gets tough. But we we're kind of we'll have merch soon. We'll have like a vinyl soon. We would do CDs, but who the hell buys those now? And
Yeah, it's like vinyl or digital.
Yeah. There's no CD players in cars anymore.
Yeah, so hopefully like at least 2 people go and like check out this record on Spotify, and hopefully people enjoyed the conversation, and we're just shooting from the hip here, like trying to figure out like,
Right.
trying to have a good time, trying to like throw some shows, throw some parties, like, entertain
Really
people.
have fun with it, because that's what it's about for
That's
you guys.
all it's about.
Right.
You know what I mean? So hopefully people come out and check out a show and support local. And if they don't come check us out, like go out and find some like local musicians. I do have a Evansville band playlist that I put together
Okay.
that I'd be happy to share with you
Yeah, we'll put it in the
in the links.
Yeah.
That'd be great. So like, I mean, everybody like on this playlist is like from our region. So it's just all original bands that write their own music, like kind of all together. And like, I think that if you listen to this playlist, I think that you're going to find out that you have like a pretty significant level of like talent, like here in
Oh,
your
yeah,
area.
for sure.
You know what I mean? And so, but in the meantime, man, I really appreciate you like sitting down with us and giving us
Oh man, it was our pleasure. It was an honor to meet you, Chris, and then it's always a blast just sitting down and talking
yeah.
with you,
Yeah.
Alex. Even when I see you out in public, it's nice to run up. Hey, what's up?
For
And,
sure,
like,
bro.
run off.
Yeah.
But
Well,
for sure.
props to y'all for like you know, holding it down and doing what you're doing here. And like, you know, I'm sure that it's the same thing as like, you know, starting a band and things. Like you're trying to figure out like what you're doing and what you are and
it's
exploring
definitely
it and hanging out with your
interesting.
friends and like doing whatever the hell you want.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting area, but then like you also got to like look at the numbers and see like what drives your audience, which is a weird thing to learn.
For sure. You're gonna see our number. You're gonna see the numbers for this podcast and be like, man, that was a waste of time.
No, I doubt it. Thank you guys so much for coming into the studio, Alex and Chris. We are going to outro on the XANDERWOLF song
Burn Town.
You reminded me of New Orleans, where the party never stops and nothing's obscene. The sound of music all night long will spill into the streets. When we went down to that town, we wanted to burn it down. But after the laughter, we thought we'd stick around. Making new movies done so easily, but you might want to keep an eye out for our ghosts. We're here to infect you with this melody inside your brain, and you gotta take it home. So we can haunt you in your dreams when you're out there all alone. So since we're here, we might as well just make the room gel and raise some hell. We'll ring your bell, bring you out of your shell and make you move your feet. You reminded me of Miami, where everybody's out just running free. Infected with these melodies, they slip into the sea. When we went down to that town, we wanted to burn it down. But after the laughter, we thought we'd stick around. Making you lose that so easily, but you might want to keep an eye for our ghosts. We come to infect you with this melody inside your brain, and then you gotta take us home. When we haunt you in your dreams, when we're out there all alone, we're the jack of all trades, masters of none. We came to this town so we could have us some fun. Then you'll regret we leave again when we get inside your town, don't come around, it's just right, some hell and then burn it down. But what we found, need to stick around, cause we really like what we see. Reminding me of anarchy, where everybody's out just running free. The sound of chaos all alone will spill into the streets. When we went down to that town, we wanted to burn it down. But after the laughter, we thought we'd stick around. Making you lose that so easily, but you might want to keep an eye out for our ghosts. We come to infect you with this melody inside your brain, and you gotta take us home. And we haunt you in your dreams when you're out there all alone.